what is up, everyone? How's it going? How's it going? It's Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. TGIF, not J. What the hell? Brain fart. How's it going? Hey, Bedrock, how's it going, buddy? Oh, yeah, the Discord notification is a little bit late. This week has been ass. Why? Because of the shit going on in the nation if you're US, or you, something else happened. Want to get high? I wish I could after this entire week we've had, but unfortunately can't because of my job. But I will say smoke them if you got them. I totally understand. Live vicariously. I mean, I'll live vicariously through y'all. Yes, all that shit in personal work. Haven't had much time off. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, all this shit is very stressful right now. I really want to focus more on YouTube content that's going to be focusing on core cybersecurity things, but there keeps happening to be cybersecurity related topics. I have to talk about this whole political BS here. Like, I have to talk about, apparently Elon Musk not only had unauthorized access to the treasury and such, because he's an unelected, unconfirmed official with no security clearance, and neither does his team, but now they're feeding it into AI. And, like, I have to talk about all these things from a cybersecurity perspective of, like, but I mean, I can turn it at least into a actual legitimate discussion about cybersecurity, because if you're ever in a situation where your systems have unauthorized access, you now need to conduct a forensic audit on all the systems. Like, we now have to treat the United States Treasury and other systems as if they have been potentially compromised. And I never want to fucking hear someone talk about the fact that, oh, TikTok is a national security threat. There is no way, shape, or form TikTok could have ever gotten to the way of, causing a national security issue in the way that Elon Musk and Doge did. By the way, did you hear that one of their staffers already had to resign because they dug up some actually racist posts from him? Do we know which AI it is? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he feeds it into Grok or something like that. Mind you, none of these kids are older than 25 years old. And you know what programming language governments pretty much have most of their systems run on in terms of this? They're pretty much written in COBOL. None of these kids are gonna have any knowledge of COBOL before they came in. And if you don't know what COBOL is, it's COBOL. Look it up. Yeah, it's an it's an archaic language. They don't teach it anymore. The idea of Fortran, COBOL, and I feel like I'm forgetting one language, those have a completely different paradigm in programming, as I was told back when I used to be on speaking terms with my father, because he actually had to work with those programming languages when he was in the United States Air Force. Even I don't know it. I think that was for 60-big computer. Yeah, COBOL, Fortran, they are really old languages. They predate C. Like, every language you've touched today, these predate it. This language is like, what, 50s, 60s, 70s? I want to say 1950s or 60s, to be honest. Like, you get paid mucho dinero if you know it, because it's such a niche skill, and there's a lot of archaic systems that still work on it. Yeah, I was talking about that. They're like 25 years at most. They've already had, what was it, Marco Elez, I think was his name, or Elzo, or whatever. He actually had to resign because I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I was reading it on Blue Sky. They had actually figured out, and he, on his old social media accounts, had actually legitimately racist posts. He was talking about repealing the Civil Rights Act. He was literally talking about eugenics. And as soon as those questions were asked to the White House, shortly after, he had to resign. Plain and simple, he would have not passed for government security clearance. You forgot Pascal. Pascal! That was it! Thank you! That was the third language. I knew I was thinking of a third. I hear Alpine lost the toasting. Alpine. They're feeding AI personal data. The AI is a ticking time bomb of potential leak. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is why if you follow me on Blue Sky as well as Mastodon, which you should be because that's where I also hang out and chat, I actually mentioned, I replied to a senator saying, you know, because hold on, let me pull up my Blue Sky so I can get the act name correct. La 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 la. Hold on. One second. There we go. I knew it was tied to this one. Okay. So, Rep. Seth Moulton, I think that was his name, House Representative, Massachusetts, apparently, 6th District. Elon Musk wasn't elected or confirmed, but Trump is letting him move fast and break things with your private data. We're fighting back with the Taxpayer Data Protection Act because your personal information should be guarded by professional public servants and not handed off to a chaotic billionaire. And I said, as a cybersecurity professional, this is a nice start, but we have to close many gaps. We have so many gaps to close up. I have been screaming about from general data protection laws to government security hardenings and more. We also should have the DOJ moved to the judicial branch and away from the executive. It makes sense. That's what I said a little bit earlier. Oh, Cobalt was made in 1959? Yeah, that makes sense. It's an old language. Damn, that's old. I heard of it because people, we still have one satellite up in space with it. Yeah, we still have satellites and stuff like that. There's a lot of technology. Pretty much anything that was made in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s is using Cobalt, Fortran, and Pascal. And there's still a lot of those systems still running around. My understanding, I could be wrong here, I just have heard this from secondhand knowledge, is that the systems that we have, quote-unquote, modernized are just virtualizations of those old systems running on modern hardware. I could be wrong on that. I haven't gotten actual confirmation there. That is what I've been told from other people that are a little bit closer to the source. And I'm like, that tracks because they don't make a lot of this hardware anymore. I mean, you got to think about it. The processors of the 50s, 60s, and 70s literally aren't made anymore. There's no one that makes that. A lot of those chips and stuff. So you have to virtualize these systems. Even if you were to get like an IBM, what is the mainframe called? I know it's the ones that run on ZOS, but if you got a proper mainframe, those are still too new. I need vacuum tubes for my server, please. Pretty much, that's how it rolls. Without being too obvious, any side chat going out there that you know of? There's some. It's just hard to decipher fact from fiction on different things because there's so many things coming around. But we did get some news that the courts did grant an injunction from Elon Musk accessing the data. The issue that we have is great. They did that, but it's too little too late. They, unfortunately, could potentially have the data already extracted, exfiltrated, and then that's how they're processing the data. So even though they have an injunction from accessing the data, there's nothing that really necessarily proves that they haven't had a copy of the data. So the problem is, you've already broken a lot of basic cybersecurity principles there. Here's the honest truth. In order to rectify the damage, we would probably need several years, and I think this finally makes a good case for us to actually get rid of Social Security numbers as an identification system, because the problem is all of those employees probably had those numbers potentially leaked, and if that's the case, that leaves them prone to identity theft for the rest of their life in the same way as a lot of other American citizens. And the Social Security ID system, the Social Security numbers were never meant to be an identification system anyway. They were meant to be tied to a retirement account. They were never meant to be an identification system. That was something I think that was passed in the 70s or 80s, if I recall. Because prior to that, U.S. military even used to have their own serial numbers that were different than Social Security, and now our military literally has their Social Security on their dog tags, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's a huge issue. We need to completely overhaul government once this is out. So the silver lining is this at least opens the door for these discussions to happen. But the honest truth is we need to elect more hackers. And I know what you're thinking if you're not familiar with cybersecurity. No, hackers are, it's a neutral term. Anyone who tinkers with hardware to hack it in ways that they want to make it work, or software, things like that, is a hacker. A hacker doesn't necessarily mean that it's a malicious thing. Now, of course, there's a lot of connotation there that, you're hacking into the system and all that. I mean, you can have penetration testers that are doing the same thing, and they're doing it for legitimate reasons to find vulnerabilities. So, keep that in mind. Cars can be hacked. I mean, Teslas have APIs. So Tesla originally, for those of you that are not aware, had a horrible security model when they first started out. They got severely compromised when they were first deployed because they ran the entire car as root. Everything in the car was running as root from your media player to the system itself. Everything. So, yeah. And Tesla, by the way, you didn't know that, VTuber? Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. It's an old story. I remember this like in my early days of starting out in the cybersecurity side of things. Tesla cars running as root. Hold up. Hold on. God, it's like such an old story. It's, no, this is, the most recent ones are talking about getting root access to, be able to do right to repair stuff. But this is an extremely old story. I'm gonna have to dig into that a little bit further, but I specifically remember somebody was complaining about that, and they had to actually rewrite a lot of the security in it that required a major OS update. This is like, I'm reaching back into the recesses of my mind. But also, Tesla is facing some stock issues. I don't know if you've paid attention to this. We've had the inside, the boards and stuff like that. They're not buying stocks, they're selling. They kind of see the heat's coming. So, I don't know if you paid attention to the stock market today. It was not good for Tesla. So overall, I want you to understand this, okay? Overall, the stock market was going up overall. So let's pull up the average so you can see a comparison here. 1 second. S&P 500. We'll just use that as an index. So overall, the market wasn't a great day, but it was a good day. 0.36%. Tesla was down 1%. And right within the first 30 minutes, look how much that dropped down to. The target price today I saw was around $362 over on public. And it's now at the point you can zoom out and they've lost 9% within a month. And if you look, they've almost completely, they're on their way to wiping out all the gains they've had in the run-up to the election. Which, by the way, if they do end up getting to the point where they get to the point where they lose all their the profits they've had since the election, let's say it breaks back to June 2020, June 20th prices of $181, the half, I'll be popping champagne. But yeah, this is not good. People are bailing. So for those of you not aware, the reasons why this is happening is Elon Musk is trying to do this whole like big plan to build an AI supercomputer. The reason why? He's losing car sales. He's losing car sales. If I remember correctly, it was 63% decline in 1 month in Germany, 59% decline in France, and a 12% decline in Ireland in sales in 1 month. Just 1 month! I think somebody was telling me they were like no longer even in the top 10 EV brands in Europe or something like that. I couldn't confirm that. It was from somebody else. Or maybe I was mishearing and it maybe have been top 10 in Ireland, France, or Germany. Either way, Tesla is screwed themselves because here's the problem. Who buys electric vehicles? Not people on the right. I can tell you that from a fact. With somebody that's, a little bit more libertarian leaning and myself, pragmatic libertarian, more the Gary Johnson type, not the crazy, ones you're thinking of. So, but on the right, they're more likely to have a diesel engine and roll coal. That's just how they roll. They're not too into EVs. And many of them just, yeah. And if you don't know what rolling coal is, look it up. There's a YouTube thing where they literally just spray smog on protesters and stuff like that. There's tons of these MAGA types that do that. What's your view on crypto? Okay, first clarification. We talking cryptos in cryptography or cryptos in currency? Let me know that point of clarification first, and then we can go into it. Crispy, if you don't mind. As in BTC, etc., Chainlink. Okay, so I actually have been in cryptocurrency for a few years, but let me make this very clear. Not a crypto bro. I am a cybersecurity professional that does research into cryptocurrency, and I did do pretty well that cryptocurrency is in part how I actually managed to buy this house. But I bought it when it was like Bitcoin like peaked at around like $1,400, $1,600. Like we're talking a while ago. As in the technology, I think it's sound. If you look at the 2009 reasons for it, reading the original Bitcoin white paper was that it was a direct response to the financial crisis of 2009, where banks were making very, very risky loans and everything like that that led to the financial collapse that we saw in 2009. It was to help the unbanked become banked, to become your own bank, to own your own assets. The problem with cryptocurrency today is a lot of the crypto bros here have freaking perverted the original ideas. The fact that I have to explain to most of these people, you shouldn't be putting cryptocurrency in an exchange. The whole idea is for you to own your own assets. And if they're measuring your wealth in dollars with cryptocurrency, you've missed the entire freaking point. The entire point was to get away from government-mandated fiat currencies and be able to put the power back into the people. So, I like cryptocurrency as in the idea. I like it as in the terms of the technology. But the problem is crypto bros have freaking ruined it. They don't even understand that blockchain is not this magic silver bullet of a technology. It's great as a ledger technology. Private blockchains are great in terms of if you want to like throw them on and have an ERP system and things like that. But they are not a golden bullet, silver bullet to fix everything. Like do you know how many times I've argued with people that you don't need cryptocurrency to be related to a decentralized solution? The problem with cryptocurrency is all this Web3 bullshit. I have to explain the difference between Web3 and Web 3.0. Mastodon is decentralized without cryptocurrency being involved. But what was it? There's like this social network that was built on blockchain, and I'm like, that's never going to work. It's a dumb idea. So, yeah. I mean, you can even complain about Blue Sky and the way that they're decentralized. I mean, there are legitimate criticisms there. But that has a better chance of freaking working as a decentralized model than using a blockchain to run your social media. Social media and a blockchain makes absolutely no sense. Fiat is good in a certain sense. It is, but you have to understand, cryptocurrency in and of itself is a fiat currency. The difference is that the fiat is actually issued by a technology rather than a centralized entity that at any given point can choose to make more dollars. That's one of the reasons why. Like, the only way you can get away from fiat is if we were to move into metals. If you move into metals and have a gold-backed currency, which I'm in support of, let me make that clear. I'm in support of gold-backed currency. Yeah. But all exchanges want ID. That's what decentralized finance is for. See, if you're worried about... See, the ID in terms of... an exchange only should be a concern for your ingress and egress from turning dollars and or other fiat currency into cryptocurrency. They shouldn't be your main place you park all your money. If you are speculating on cryptocurrency and you're using centralized exchanges and have never put it on your own hardware wallet, congratulations, you've missed the entire freaking point of cryptocurrency. And to give you a point on that, for 1 second, where's my other wallet? Oh, there it is. I've been in the middle of transitioning wallets and everything like that, so I've not only, been a user of Ledger over here. These are my ledgers I'm moving from. I'm moving to Trezor. I've also made my own Trezor. This was to prove to myself that the Trezor is as open source as they claim. So... do paper crypto wallets exist? Absolutely. So I was going to talk about that eventually. Because one thing I actually do is, so I've talked about this a little bit in TikTok and everything and some past streams. I'm going to do some YouTube content with it eventually. This is my reasonably secure laptop. It's a Purism Librem 14 running Cubes OS, and then when you boot the laptop, you have to plug in this Librem key to verify the firmware hasn't been tampered with, as well as the boot files on the operating system. It's core boot is the firmware. It's not using a proprietary BIOS. And then this is a Librem key, which is core boot and heads. It's their own take on it. It's an open source thing. Anyway, the idea I've had was generating my paper wallets in an offline virtual machine, so my paper wallets are generated completely offline. And then what I can do is send that over to a VM or a, USB drive or something, and then plug it into my printer, and then boom, paper wallet. So they are really great for cold storage and everything like that. So yeah, I'll eventually refresh it. And I don't think I showed you this. This was my Google Nexus 7 tablet. That used to be my Bitcoin wallet back in the day. If that tells you how old I've been doing this, that's local Bitcoins. I used to do this locally and in person. Like I said, I actually did research for cryptocurrency and seeing the security. And the thing I tell people is, if it wasn't for my research into cryptocurrency, I wouldn't be as far into cybersecurity as I am. Cryptocurrency is what gave me my career in cybersecurity, because it made me go deeper down into when everybody else was like, how do I make money on this? Well, for years it was just kind of like, it was a thing you weren't going to get rich on. It was, how can I understand this better as a fun project? And then as an unintended consequence, got deeper down this rabbit hole. A mini PC to host everything. I like this Purism mini computer that was sent to me a couple years ago by Start9. You can use Start OS to host a lot of your own things. They Start OS hosts everything, so you connect to it over Tor. So instead of using a VPN to access your stuff, you have to know your Tor seed address. It's pretty interesting. All right. Crypto's sus. I love gold standard. Everything has their value, but the problem is gold is hard to transmit electronically. So tomorrow the phone repair person will hate me. Oh God, why? With the treasury compromised, what does this mean for us? What it means for us is that... Hold on. If you have alcohol, drink. That's what it means for us. Are you red team or blue team? I'm more blue team, but on the red team side, I do more physical pen test stuff, lock picking, and little social engineering stuff and all that. I used to do physical pen tests and stuff like that for medical and dental facilities once upon a time. It was fun. Oh, your broken SIM tray. Why couldn't you just buy a new one? Or wait, is it like actually the SIM tray in the phone? Or am I on blockchain with SHA-256 encryption as a resume booster? Gotta find me an internship. Yeah. Problem is blockchain is not nearly as hype as it used to be. You know Pirate Software? I know of him. I don't know him. So we are that fucked. Basically. Here's the reality. I have to have the presumption that with any unauthorized access, anything and anything can, everything and anything could be, happening. So before you popped in the stream, this is actually what I was talking about, was, the reality is, even with the court injunction right now to block them from having access, it doesn't actually, stop them if they already exfiltrated data. If they already have copies of the data, you're boned. This, Elon Musk is single-handedly, because he didn't have security clearance, none of his people did. He was not authorized, none of, all these things. caused the single biggest national security issue. He's a foreign-born American citizen. Put that in perspective. Who literally has ties to the Chinese and government and Russian government. And I'm not saying like that as a boogeyman, okay? I'm just making a point here. He's never negatively spoke about those countries, and because he does a lot of business there. He is a bigger national security risk than they ever claimed TikTok was. I want to understand that. He is a bigger security risk than anything I have ever seen in terms of the U.S. government in a long time. This is kind of up there with the whole Iran-Contra. This is up there with the Watergate scandal. This is bad. Front broke. That's what the rubber seal. I am this close to packing my backpack and disappearing into the forest. I don't even live in the States, but close enough to deal with fallout. I'm allowed to share the link, have a review on it. Yeah, you can do it. It's easier if you drop it in the Discord server, though. I need to do more research, but I'm coming to you for an idea when I have more information. Okay. Would it be overreacting for me to move to Germany right now? Not really. I'm in the middle of seeing if my job will let me actually transfer to the Portuguese office. So I'm not far behind you. Wasn't he a legal immigrant? That is the allegation that is being levied right now. If that is the case, that could be interesting. Oh yeah, so here we were, talking about, yeah, Tesla apparently had some insider stock sales, not insider trading per se. They do have to disclose, their trading and all that. But Tesla insiders have been selling a lot of their stock. Like, they've been exclusively selling, not buying. They know it's going to get crap. Portugal expensive? Portugal's not expensive. No, actually, cost of living is pretty cheap. Let me see. Did I miss the messages? Issues the U.S. only prints money over central banks and Wall Street, a private entity. Pretty much. I don't trust exchanges and wallets. I have a paper wallet. Well, you kind of have to use an exchange at some level unless you're actually mining your own money and everything. He arrived on a JI visa and then dropped out of school and didn't leave, so... Yep. That'll do it if true. Also, did you hear that, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, I want to spell out the name, Doge, apparently requested $7 million in expenses for their first week. If that's in fact true, that is more than the White House usually expenses for an entire year. The Department of Governmental Efficiency allegedly cost as much in 1 week as an entire year of the White House. Now, there's a theory being thrown out, and thank you for the follow, by the way, Designer PK, that a lot of this is being done between the tariffs and the, trying to cut as much money as possible because they want to produce more tax cuts for the ultra wealthy and these super corporations, because some of these corporations already right now are paying next to nothing to the point that it's costing the American companies and some of these government and some of these companies are getting tax refunds. How are you going to do more tax cuts if you know you're going to run your country more into a debt? They were hoping, from what I've heard, to cut 10% of federal employees. They really don't know how to run businesses. They don't know how the world works. They don't know how the economy works. They don't know a lot of things. And it shocks me. And then, to add insult to injury, The Orange in Chief was talking about how he wants to basically turn Gaza into a Riviera. Now, a little thing you should know about me. I'm Moroccan. I have family on both the Israeli and Palestinian sides. I have Muslim and Jewish family. I'm Jewish myself, but I have family on both sides. I actually lived in Israel for a year, went to school there, got to spend time in the West Bank and in Gaza. He wants to displace the Palestinian people. He pretty much said it. He wants to have American control over Gaza. Yeah. So to all of you that voted for... That's true ethnic cleansing. Here's the thing. Whatever you will say about Netanyahu, as much as I despise that schmuck, he was never going to go as far as Trump is, but now because Trump is proposing that, Bibi is only in power because he has this right-wing coalition in Israel. And this right-wing coalition is now seeing, well, you know, we have continuous war, or the Americans can come in and, you know, build a bunch of stuff for us, and that seems to be a great solution. While the left in Israel wants some damn fucking peace. Most people in Israel do not like him, just so you know. He almost brought the country to a civil war right before October 7th, just so you know. October 7th of 2023, for you all in perspective. And I have to say this. I know some people may get upset at me. I am extremely disappointed in a lot of my Arab brothers and sisters that voted for Trump and then are so suddenly surprised that he actually did this when the schmuck actually said he openly what he was going to do all the time. And here's the thing to anyone that's like, oh, you know, it's the Jew. No, if you remove every single pro-Israel Jew, or let's make it even easier for you. Take every single Jew that actually lives in this entire world, remove them from the total count of people who claim to be Zionist, you wouldn't even make a dent because it's mostly the evangelical Christians. Which, nice segue to, Trump apparently is forming a group to fight anti-Christian bias. Did you hear that? Did you know that? And as someone who, not just with my ancestors, but myself, has had to deal with the quote-unquote Christian love that's oppressed us, that is not a good look. Yeah, it's Christo-fascism. But then again, he was so open about it. I find it funny when people are like, he's such a God-fearing man. Yeah, the guy who cheated on his wife with an adult star. Yeah, that's real great right there. Pack the PCs and run. Soon. I gotta figure out the job situation, though. Time to donate more to the Satanic Panic, Temple. Why did I go to Satanic Panic? Yeah. Here's the honest truth. I have a few good friends that are Christian in the truest sense. But anytime someone calls themselves a Christian, it kind of makes me, like, wonder about you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like... I don't have an issue with Christianity. I have an issue with Christians. Make sense? The teaching of Jesus. Love thy neighbor. He who is without sin, cast the first stone. Great! But most of those fucking Christians don't even read his damn Bible. And I know, some Christians will hate what I said, but then again... Crucify another Jew. What are you going to do? Off topic, but I'm currently having to repair my grub because my dual boot Windows ate it. See? What did I say? Windows is a freaking bully on the playground, so I completely sympathize with you. I used to have Windows on a completely different NVMe SSD on this box over here. One day I updated the BIOS, literally went to go take a dump. And within that time, Windows had booted up somehow long enough to grab updates, mess up the bootloader, and I spent 6 hours trying to fix it until I just said, you know what, I was planning to reinstall Pop! OS anyway and re-architect it, so I just did that and grabbed the data off a live disk. It was annoying as shit. Like, it is so horrible now, ever since Windows 10, that I genuinely tell people, you might want to have Windows in a virtual machine or a whole other box. Like, I know a lot of people are like, I'm just going to dual boot and use Linux and then go to Windows when I play a game. No, you will screw yourself very often because of that bootloader thing. And you never know when Windows is going to strike. It's like the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. I remember my first Linux experience with Linux. I dual booted with Windows. I quickly had to learn how to fix grub. So, that's the thing, is it wasn't always that way. With Windows XP and Vista, wasn't as much of an issue. And I don't think it was an issue with 7 as well, but I didn't really use Windows 7. I didn't really use Windows much after Vista, because Vista pissed me the fuck off, okay? How else do I say it? Vista is the reason I dived deep into Linux. And it all had to do with the fact that my printers and several other pieces of hardware didn't work, but they worked on Linux. Why did it censor you? We allow Microsoft slander here. MS can get fucked. I spent maybe 10 minutes debugging Linux or 12 hours getting a vague answer on Windows. Yup. Windows is a pain in the ass. They give me job security, though. So. I'm not dual booting anymore. Ditched Windows. I can't stand it. I can believe it. How to stay private when in my country there's only one government-owned cellular company devices. Well, as I always say, the most private cell phone is the one you make of yourself out of 2 cups and string. Here's the reality. You can't always even stay private, even in the current cell phone networks and everything. So it's a question of how much do you want to give up. So, like, you got VPNs, but then you got to trust the VPN provider. You got the Tor network, but then you got to make sure, you know, there's so many other nuance around that, like with different nodes and all that, and don't want to log into regular things, so I don't recommend Tor for the average person and only in specific use cases. You basically have to VPN or bridge out. But you got to find a VPN provider you can trust. I mean, I like Proton, don't get me wrong. I'm just putting it out there. Which, by the way, I am affiliated with Proton. If you do want to get them, link in the bio. But I want to always make that disclaimer that they are not a silver bullet. VPNs are great when you understand how they're used, their main purpose, and everything there. But in certain situations, you got to learn to not put anything out there. I'm using Arch and I already have a live disk ready, so hopefully it's just a matter of CH rooting. Evening, Chief. Checking for stragglers on this account. Saw you live. Hey, what's up, Sapphire? How you been? Long time, no chat. I just have Windows on a small form factor box just because I need it for work. Yeah, I mean, that's totally fine. I keep Windows in a virtual machine, so whenever I need it, I just boot it up. I haven't needed it in a while, so I haven't made this virtual machine over here. Is it possible to run Mac OS on a virtual machine? Kind of, sort of. There's been a few attempts, I know, in the Linux world, like Sosumi and things like that, that allow you to run Mac OS inside of a virtual machine, but Mac does not want to let that happen. The problem is, and this is why I moved away from Mac, Mac doesn't understand the needs of business, and they don't allow you to virtualize their own operating system, and I think it's only within the past year or two they finally released a Type 1 hypervisor, because Mac used to break virtual machine hypervisors every update. It was bad. That's why I left. And the operating system itself isn't conducive to being virtualized because they embed it so much into the hardware. The problem is Apple's trying to get you to buy their hardware that they don't give a shit about their software. I don't know how else to tell you. That's basically the situation. Aren't they weird about POSIX compliance too? Yes! They're really weird about everything. Is it necessary to learn Mac OS for cybersecurity? No. The honest truth is, and contrary to what a lot of people may have you think, you're not going to come across Mac too often in a enterprise environment. And for those of you like, we have it in our business, I can tell you probably live on the West Coast there, or you have some hippy-dippy company that likes to overspend their money and doesn't have it properly set up. And if you do, tell me the MDM that you use to manage all of that stuff. And then tell me about, all of the other software you have managing it. Chances are, you're probably not managing it. You're probably just using the Mac for the aesthetic. But anyway, like, to give you perspective, if we're not including iPhones, because iPhone, totally different argument there than it comes to Mac. We have about, I think 7,500 computers deployed in our company, give or take. I want to say 7,000, 7,500, somewhere around that number. There's maybe 6,000. I don't know. It's a few thousand, okay? There's only about 150 Macs in the entire company. And the only reason people usually use Mac is to deploy Apple software, or they are hippie devs that don't know how to fucking use a computer and don't know their ass from a TCP packet. I'm just going to tell you this. I have no problem with a developer who likes to use Mac. I have a problem with a developer that will refuse to use anything but Mac. Do you understand the difference there? I can get on a Mac. I can use it just fine. I'm a former Mac user. Yitz is the same way. He's been using Mac for many years, but he now uses a Windows laptop with Windows Subsystem for Linux. Yeah, I don't think I recognize your account, Sapphire. Yeah. Safety community, and, it's a little bit weird right now in the world, but, yeah, anyway, no, you don't need to know Mac OS for cybersecurity. You will need to know Windows and Linux. That's the honest truth. Those are the things you definitely will come across. Mac, know about mobile device management. Things like Jamf. Things like, there's a couple other solutions out there, but Jamf is the big one. Learn about, the basics of using a Mac and all that, just, so you can actually pick it up and kind of move your way around. But no, you don't need to know deep, intimate knowledge about it. Focus more on your Windows and Linux knowledge with cybersecurity, because those are the things you're going to generally come across. And the honest truth is, I wish a lot of developers would realize this. When you insist on only using a Mac, you shut yourself off from a lot of job opportunities. Because a lot of jobs out there are Windows shops. Most companies that are hiring are Windows shops. And the whole era of, we got to give them Mac hardware to attract the best talent because that's what they use and it's hip, those are gone. Because now we have to worry about compliances. Linux knowledge will get you halfway there with a Mac. Pretty much. If you can use a Linux box, you can more or less get around a Mac computer. It's just a little bit of differences between the operating system. No different than when you pick up a FreeBSD and you pick up Linux. You kind of get your way around FreeBSD. PowerShell is an underrated skill set. PowerShell is useful to know, at least for your basics and stuff like that. But I will never stop referring to PowerShell as Temu Bash. It is the Temu of Bash. Bash is the scripting language we use in Linux often. PowerShell was obviously influenced by Bash because the command prompt and Batch were so horrible on Windows. Most of the Bash for Mac carries from Linux anyway. Well, they're all Unix-like operating systems. What is the difference in PowerShell versus the command prompt? A lot. Command prompt is basically a holdover from the DOS days, more or less. It's very old and limited. It can't tie into the Windows operating system so much because the problem is that Windows, before PowerShell came around, it was really hard to administrate Windows through scripting because they kind of really focused on the entire OS being programmed through the GUI. PowerShell allows a little bit better connection and what's the word I'm trying to say? Not transparency. Shit. Basically, it just works a lot better that you can actually script PowerShell into programming Windows in a lot easier and more replicatable ways, and you didn't have to worry about too many weird abstractions. PowerShell now has the ability for their own app store and package manager. What is that? The WinGet stuff. You can do a lot more with PowerShell. What's a GUI if not a script under the hood, basically? Can PowerShell do everything the command prompts can do? Yes, and more. So every command you can pretty much do in command prompt, you can do in PowerShell. But PowerShell, you can do a lot more things with it because you can more easily pipe the commands and outputs and things like that in automation. Yeah, automation. That's a good thing there. 90% of what you can do in PS PowerShell. Yeah, you could not automate so much in a batch because, like, yeah. Can create or change GPOs for AD. But not just that, you can even connect to your Microsoft Azure Federation and stuff like that. So, like, you can actually then administrate, you know, Office 365 through PowerShell with certain commands. So you can actually do audit trails and a lot more powerful things. You can have a much more deeper connection and all that. Hey, what's up, Reformed? Timo? Chief Jacob's corner table is our other account as we go underground and switch symbols. Oh, okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, sorry, I've been like whiplashing around trying to take care of things, so I that makes sense. But yeah, did y'all see this news though that came out? How a Doge staffer had to resign because they found he had legitimate racist posts. Apparently, the Wall Street Journal found out that he had a deleted social media account that was literally advocating for eugenics and all that. God damn it. Hold up. Does this work? 1 second. Do I have W3M on here? W3M-IMG. And we're going to typey. Okay, so I'm curious if we can get around their paywall. God damn it! Please enable JavaScript and disable any ad blocker. Fuck you! Goddamn Wall Street Journal. No, I'm not paying for you. I really don't like the fact that we can't just view articles. Because here's the thing. If I disable my ad blocker, no, they still want me to pay for it. And then give me an advertisement. Like, let me pick one or the other. Because I'm not going to pay for your article and view advertisements. What should I use for an email service? Email service, Proton seems to be one of the better solutions out there, especially in value, privacy, and all that, and they're based in Switzerland. For those of you not aware, Switzerland requires any orders go through the Swiss court before they go through, and Proton keeps very minimal data on you. And let's be honest here, before anyone's like, well, they have this, and email sucks as a whole. I don't care what provider you use. I ran my own email server. Email sucks. But Proton Mail, I'm affiliated with them, so that's a disclaimer there. You can get them through the link in the bio. Helps support me just a little bit in this channel and all the content we create. But I do like them. They have a great password manager. They have a great email system. They have a great, they have the ability for you to alias your email, so you can actually use their simple login plugin or the Proton Pass as the ability to alias it. So you can actually create different aliases so that you can give out a different email to every marketer and all that. And then if you start noticing it gets too spammy, you can just kill that alias email. And as the other advantage is that if you create accounts, you can have a different alias email for every single one. So if they get compromised, they can't just say, oh, this email is found on Spotify. Now we're going to go over to their Amazon. Oh no, my Amazon and my Spotify would have two completely different aliases. So it's not a matter of just, oh, this account's compromised and I have a different password. Now it's different password and different email technically, even though they funnel in the same way. They have a lot of great value for all the different features you get for, what is it, I think only like $10 a month. Like, it's pretty great. For their premium version. You can also get their free package, but the honest truth is, it'll work for basic things, but with paying for your own email, you can also hook it to your own domain name. So you can buy, like, Timmy at, you can get, like, Timmy.com and be like Timmy at Timmy.com or whatever you want. So you can spend, like, $6-7 over on Cloudflare, get your domain, hook it up to Proton Mail, and boom, nice vanity email. All that taken care of. And I used to run my own email server. I've been recommending Proton before I was even affiliated with them. I affiliated myself because I like their product, not because they pay me money. Oh, their aliases are definitely really great. Thank you for the follow, Chris. What really? PMO is banks requiring SMS 2FA. It's not secure. My credit union uses Authy. I kind of was the pert reason behind that. I walked into my credit union, and I literally gave them a demo. I gave them not a demo, but I sat down with the branch manager, and I explained to them, look, I saw the proposal that you're having for finally adding SMS 2FA. Here's the reality of this. I can intercept an SMS message. And I gave them several realistic situations this could happen. Not only can an SMS MFA be intercepted, I explained to them about SS7 attacks. I also gave them a realistic situation of SIM jacking that can be legally done. Which was, I said, because I've seen this exact situation play out. A victim of domestic violence is with a partner that is the owner of the cell phone plan. When said partner leaves, they legally can SIM swap the phone into a different device and intercept all the messages. And legally speaking, because it's their plan, there is no legal recourse. So you can now intercept the bank account, everything, and potentially drain it. I've seen stuff like this play out. It's very sad and unfortunate. And the only mitigation to that is have your own, at least TOTP. YubiKey is still the gold standard when it comes to a lot of things. Wait, what? Yeah. If you legally own the phone in many places, with the contract and everything, you can go into the phone company and request the SIM to be put onto another phone, and then start intercepting everything. Because think about it this way. The average person doesn't use a password manager. So it's not that hard to figure out your password. I'm betting most of you out there, unless you're a little bit more in cybersecurity, which probably is most of my audience, but I'm betting some of you know somebody who is not very technical that probably their password is related to, I don't know, their dog, their cat, their children. Something that I could probably go and look up through social media and tie to you because you're using it very, very simply. You're thinking of, I just need a password to meet the requirements, but not how close is that password to me to be deciphered. I use Bitwarden. I'm a Bitwarden warrior. So I use several password managers. I segment my passwords in different silos. So you've got Bitwarden for the business stuff. You've got Proton Pass for the personal stuff. And then I don't put any of my multi-factor authentication in my own password manager. I'm not saying like everyone should do this. It's just a holdover from what I was already doing. I used to have two different KeePass XC databases for my regular passwords, and then my multi-factor authentication. I would throw the seeds that would generate it into another one in case I lose access. I took the original KeePass XC database, split it up into business-related passwords and personal passwords, so I split them up. And then the multi-factor authentication codes are either generated, I usually get them through the YubiKey, which has a password on it, on top of it. And you get it wrong 5 times, lockout. But if I ever have to restore it, it's in an offline KeePass XC that is also encrypted with a triple encryption with Veracrypt. So you would need to know 2 completely different passwords to that. So yeah, that's how I do it. Make sure you add MFA to your Windows login. Oh yeah, I forget they're doing that now. But I'd do security keys instead of for regular for MFA. I would do a security key on a Windows or Mac or Linux laptop. I kind of do. This laptop, when you boot up, it actually does anti-tamper detection and stuff. Or they use the same password everywhere that has been leaked. Yeah! I had to chew out an employee at work today because they were like, why has my password been reset like several times? And it's like, because you're using a password that when we do our nightly scans with, there's software out there like SpyCloud and a few other ones that you can connect into your environment and it will do a scan of the entire network. And if your password matches a compromised password or is close to a compromised password, it will force you to change. So, like, there's instances where the hash is very similar, or it will also, what's the word? It also checks for iterative passwords. So, like, let's say you have password 1, and password 1 has been leaked. If you put in password 2, it will still give a flag about that password. And there are so many employees that get pissed off about this, and they're like, well, why does this keep happening? And I'm like, because you're using the damn same password. Pick a different word. Some people just get new numbers and brute password reset accounts using i.e. Uber, Instacart, Facebook. Yeah, I've gotten a few of those. It's kind of funny to watch them try. I don't even use a number attached to anything I normally use. The power of being a prior VoIP admin, baby! I've got a couple dozen numbers at my disposal. It was really fun when dating, too. I still use them, though. When I'm meeting people, I tier people when I date them. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, let's go to the date. Here's my number. And then I'll tell them after a few dates in, okay, you can have my real number. So what was the number you gave me before? That was a Google Voice number. You can do that? Yeah. Wait till I tell you about all the VoIP systems I actually use. And it's amazing how many dates I've been in. They've been freaked out. They're like, how do you know? Like, you Googled me before I came in? And I'm like, you didn't? How do you know I'm not an axe murderer? Like, they're like, what? And I'm like, you don't check out people before you go on to make sure they don't have a record or anything like that? And like, wait, what? And I'm like, I took your picture and ran it through to make sure you didn't have a criminal record or, you know, you weren't going to do anything. Some people get freaked out by that, and I'm just more freaked out by the people that don't do that. Here people do 2FA with stolen phone SIM cards and pay bills with that, like internet bill, water. Yeah, that makes sense. Ubico's clutch, yeah. I want to get into cybersecurity SOC analyst, cybersecurity engineer, 3 years help desk plus CCNA and home labs. It's a matter of just getting someone that'll let you in. Usually you're going to be more on an entry level coming in on those kind of things. And just putting yourself out there. It doesn't help to get some cybersecurity related certs, but remember, certs don't help you get the job. They at most get you an interview. And to prove that point, I only got my first cert a few months ago, and I've been at my current job for almost 2 years. And they paid for my cert. And my first cert, just so you know, CISSP. Which, by the way, cracks up people or shocks them when they're like, wait, you didn't get Security Plus or anything? I'm like, no, go big or go home. Now I'm working on my ham radio license. I was talking to my architect. He told me immediately to start with my technician license, then go to the general license. And he's like, and for me specifically, he's like, you need to go to the amateur extra. He's like, I've been wanting to do that for 10 years. Do it before you forget. And because eventually 10 years will pass and be like, I should do that still. And I'm also going for my CCSP this year. So I'm going to go for the cloud side of CISP, basically. If your physical access registry SAN can be replaced on Windows, yeah, but do you wanna? My employer does MFA, but it's tied to our personal phones. We are SOL if something happens to said personal phone. So, are you using Okta, or is it tied to your actual personal phone number? Because at work we use Okta, and you have the option of putting it on a personal phone or a business phone. I opted for the business phone because I legitimately don't want any business shit on my phone. The most that my personal phone gets related to my work is pinging me when there's an alert when I'm on call for pager duty in case of a system. Okta, it's not too bad. They can lock that phone down. All you got to do is tell help desk immediately, and then they can lock that phone out from working with Okta. It's not a big deal. If it was SMS, you'd be boned. But still, YubiKey is king. I've been pushing so hard for us to use YubiKeys with our Okta system. And they want to do it. And I keep saying, I'm a guinea pig! Hold on. 1 second. Wait. We got it. Baby wants his YubiKey! Had an employee refuse MFA because we shouldn't be tracking them. Dumbass. I need to turn that sound up. Hold up. Yeah, I should hit up Ubico to do another giveaway, but I gotta do some more content for them on YouTube and stuff like that. I owe them that. Yeah, hold on. I think I have to, like, run that through, Audacity and boost it. 1 second. Let me see. Can I boost that? Let me boost that. Yeah, I can. Hold on. That's why I was quiet. Hold on. Dumbass. That a little bit better. Yeah, I gotta boost that sound. Tattoo say, oh, it's a dead friend that I had that passed away. It's just their name. Just memorializing them, because they were my strength. You know, just a little.
Emotional, damn it!
Why is a license required to operate radio? So basically, there are a few spectrums that if you want access to legally, you need to use them. Now, it's more so because if there wasn't license requirements, the airways and all that would be clogged. Nobody could really use radios and stuff like that because if it's an unregulated system, it would just be mass chaos. There's not as much, frequency available. So this way, people can play nice with it. We can remain compliant with systems that don't overwhelm the systems. And that's what it basically comes down to. And if there are issues, we can then... and by the way, do not fuck with the FCC. They are one agency I do not want to fuck with. They literally will track you down if you do things to interfere with signals. I doubt they would get me a personal phone, but that's one of their side businesses. There's rules and we radio users don't want extreme government monitoring and open bans. Yup. I even have Jira in my phone, LMAO, but it works for me. I don't get that much notifications, I guess. I have my Jira app on my phone, on my work phone. I don't keep it on my personal phone. Except for the personal Jira that I keep for myself, because I'm the weird guy that actually likes Jira to manage their tasks. I digress. Do you like using phone passkeys? No, I don't. I don't have a phone passkey for anything. Some people like them. I prefer YubiKey for my stuff. I just like keeping it separate. Can you store your YubiKey token? I do. I don't. Well, the point of a YubiKey is that they stay on the device. The only thing that I store off of YubiKey is the TOTP seed keys that I then can copy to my different YubiKeys as a backup and everything like that. What's up, Just Dev? Got my first cert, CCIE, just recently passed my CCAR. Nice. Happened this morning, LMAO. Is there any good ThinkPad laptops these days? Reddit keeps talking about the T480. I want a more modern one for doing back-end stuff. The T480 and stuff like that, a lot of people just keep referring to it because they were good. But the ThinkPad series are pretty good in terms of the T series. I remember when I last deployed a lot of the E series, they work pretty well. I still hold Lenovo computers in high regard. I just prefer their ThinkPad line over the consumer lines. Whatever you do when you get a ThinkPad, get their premium warranty. Because you can also get their on-site warranty, I think up to 5 years depending on some lines. And they will come to you to repair your laptop. Now, if it's, horribly broken, like say you punch through the PCB that runs the power switch, like what happened to a former client of mine when they had too much tequila in, I think they were in Mexico somewhere. Lenovo came out to them. So, yeah. Let me see. I'm good. Honestly, in tried and true T series, otherwise X and P series. Yeah, pretty much. The E series okay on a budget, but T, X, and P are the nice ones. But P is like workstation, if I recall. Weird that I have grown to enjoy doing help desk-y stuff because it's been getting really weird recently. What do you mean by that? In terms of tech or what? Baofeng UV5R moment. I forget what the hams are that the radios that gets bought, but they are Baofengs. I've got a story about the FCC and Wi-Fi jamming. Oh boy. I too make Jira tickets for my personal life. It's all about that agile lifestyle. Need an IT ticket for my career progression. What do you do if you lost your YubiKey? Use my backup YubiKey. The point of a YubiKey is that each YubiKey is uniquely registered to the device using a FIDO WebAuthn, or in the case of TOTP, I just put the seed back in, but that's the weakness of TOTP, is it's got one seed. So if you grab that from anywhere, you can compromise it. That's why you should always have at least 2 YubiKeys. One for primary, one for backup. The more the merrier, of course. I've got a few. Not telling you to Google it, but for $50 you can get certified. I'm pretty sure, but I actually want to do it right. Why do I, when boot into Arch and choose the first option, it shows a black screen after 2 lines? This is why I don't use Arch, because I got tired of troubleshooting my machine too much. Does certification help in developer roles? Like, it is even a thing for people to look for nowadays? In some cases, yes. There is a thing as certifications for cybersecurity in software. But overall, there isn't really a cert for, like, programming and all that. Most of that's just, like, kind of showing your work with GitHubs and stuff like that. Tequila way. ESP is a workstation, but they're workhorse for their size. Oh, absolutely. Any tips for someone wanting to get into cybersecurity home labs? Definitely. So, ProDoc, I definitely recommend starting with networking. That's where I started. You can look up PFSense. It's an open source firewall that you can put on any of your own hardware, like get a spare computer, and it doesn't have to be powerful. Even a Core 2 Duo with 2 gigabytes of RAM, and then an Intel network interface card, or as we call a NIC. Just at least have 2 ports for the NIC. The more the merrier, of course. One for WAN, one for LAN, and then what you can do is add a switch at the end of it, or you can get, multi-port switches and all, NICs and all that, and then you can get a managed switch. But the PFSense firewall is open source, as well as the fact that the manual reads like a textbook. So in the first few pages of the PFSense documentation, it has a lot for you to understand about IP networking, subnetting, VLAN, so you can learn a lot of the core conceptual knowledge of networking there, and then you can use it to build on top of that. So, very cost-effective and inexpensive. You can get a very inexpensive device, and then, yeah. If you only have a couple devices, are you better to get a managed or unmanaged switch? So, if you only have a couple devices, it's really a toss-up. The only reason to use a managed switch is you want to learn about VLANing, and you want to segregate things. So, I remember I started with a managed switch when I only had 2 devices, but that's because I wanted to learn about VLAN tagging. And, plug into different things. No problem, ProDoc. I will eventually have some more YouTube content covering all of that. Oh! I got some good news for all of you. So, today I met with my boss. I got a raise, and I got a bonus. Which means I can afford some of the camera hardware and the laptop I wanted to get for better editing and everything. So I'm going to be working on some better content for you and better quality and all of that. So good things are coming, people. So I'm currently picking out my laptop. I think it's going to be a Tuxedo Computers. You want to see the laptop I've been picking out? Because I'm not going System 76 this time. Not that I have anything against System 76. They just didn't have the combo I was looking for. And I've heard good things about Tuxedo Computers from the Linux Experiment for many years, watching his YouTube channel. Excuse me. PFSense plus Raspberry Pi. PFSense can't be on a Raspberry Pi because they don't allow ARM unless you buy their own hardware. Their hardware is cost-effective. Do not get me wrong. They are great hardware, and if you want to deploy them in a business, they are very cost-effective. But if you want to run it on your own box, it needs to be an x86. Get them fast before the prices are going up. Well, I should get my bonus 2 weeks for my next paycheck, so I'll be able to swing that. So this is what I'm looking at. So there's a company. I think they're based out of Europe, if I recall. Tuxedo Computers. They make some great laptops, and I was looking at a 15 or so inch laptop. And 1 second, which one is the one I was thinking of? Let me see, hold on. That's an Intel? I think it's this. The Stellaris Slim 15 is what I was looking at. This guy right here. So I can get it with a Ryzen 7 8845HS and an NVIDIA RTX 4070. I know System 76 has nice laptops. I have one. I have System 76. But System 76 didn't have an NVIDIA GPU with an AMD CPU. I wanted that combo. It's not going to have Windows. It's for Linux. My System 76 is running Pop! OS. So the reason why I need an NVIDIA GPU specifically is I want to eventually get to DaVinci Resolve with DaVinci Studio and everything. But I could only run it on this. But I want to have the ability to run it on a laptop, and that laptop only has a Ryzen CPU. DaVinci will not run on a Ryzen CPU, so I want to be able to more or less have the same workflow. So, yeah, it's got some nice features in there. 15-inch display, 240 hertz, 2560 by 1600 pixels. I can get an NVIDIA 4060 or 4070 in here. I'm not planning a game on it. I'm planning to do editing and LLMs and stuff on it. So, yeah. The other nice thing is you could actually customize the chassis logo. So I was going to have my own logo laser engraved on the laptop. I think that's just so cool that you can do that. So this is the laptop I'm looking at getting. It looks nice, and they apparently have good build quality and all that stuff too. So it's really down to picking an NVIDIA 4060 or 4070. The honest truth, I'm probably leaning towards the 4060 because it's more the VRAM I need than anything, and 8 gigs is probably more than enough. But I would slap 96 gigs of RAM in here. And the nice thing is it can fit 2 SSDs in there. So I was thinking of picking them up at Micro Center. Time to go ask Framework to give me laser engraved cases. I would love Framework to send me a RISC-V laptop. I don't want any of their laptops because I got too many. But I want a RISC-V laptop. They apparently just released the RISC-V mainboard. So I don't know if y'all want to like pester them to say like let Chief test it out and review it. I wouldn't be opposed. I would love to review those laptops. It's just I can't justify spending my own money to buy different laptops all the time because that's an expensive proposition to just buy a laptop and then yeah. Just Linus. I would not be asking Linus for it. And I think if he looked at my shit, he'd know that, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of him. The honest truth is, there's not really any fans of his in the professional side of tech. Because he's done so many things that just... No, I'm not trying to say this to stir up controversy or anything. He pissed off CompTIA. He pissed off CompTIA, legitimately. Thank you for the follow, Corrupted. He recorded him taking the A+ exam. Did you know that? And then CompTIA basically had to say, you violated the contract you signed by taking the test because you're not allowed to record the test and you're not allowed to do derivative works. It's the same thing as when I took my CISSP test. I can tell you about my prep. I can tell you what study materials to get. I cannot tell you what questions I actually answered and, you know, what was on the test and everything. Wait, hold up. Did they actually revoke all of his employees' certs? Like, his entire company staff? Because I didn't know about that part. I knew about CompTIA going to Network Chuck because CompTIA came to me. When they were doing their cleanup of everyone that had done it, they were very nice to me. They were just like, hey, we saw you had this video. We don't have any issue with the things you said. The issue is because of by virtue of that I was having React content to it. It had the copyrighted material that he was in violation of. So CompTIA was going around and asking people about, you know, what was going on. And CompTIA was completely in the right. And I'm not saying that, because I am somehow a stooge of theirs. I am saying that because I'm a professional. I have no certs from CompTIA. Yeah, Linus had to remove that video. But Network Chuck and I, we both mentioned that we removed our videos. I didn't have a dedicated YouTube video talking about my removal. I just talked about it on Twitch because I didn't really see the need to stir the pot. He already got kicked, while he was down, basically. And that's far from the first time, apparently, Linus has gotten in trouble. Yeah, they're dead serious about that because they have a lot of weird brain dump companies. Huh. I can't find anything on the staff. Yeah. But, yeah, it was... I remember when I was reviewing that video, I was railing it so hard because he was like, I don't understand change control. And I'm like, well, no wonder you don't understand change control because you don't work in an enterprise. Yeah, if you can find that information corrupted, I'd be interested. I'm not going off of rumors or anything. I like to verify my things, but I can verify for a fact he ran afoul of CompTIA. They almost took him to task. He had to remove the video. Yeah, Linus gets in a lot of arguments. And didn't he just get into an argument with, Gamers Nexus again? Which, by the way, what's his name? Steve, if I remember? Gamers Nexus? That dude is awesome. He may not necessarily be a professional cybersecurity and IT person, per se, but he gets my immense respect because Steve seems to be the kind of guy that he's like, I don't know this. This is what I know about it. iFixit is pretty salty right now, too. What's iFixit, huh? What OS on Google Pixel is the most secure? Graphene. Graphene OS. As much as, Louis Rossman and both myself and several others have complained about how the developers of Graphene OS can be a bit toxic, they're just a bit too puritanical and think they're always right in certain ways when they don't understand there's different threat models and stuff like that. Graphene OS is the one I will still recommend. Calyx is a close second. I have not gotten to try EOS. Before anyone asks me that, I have not gotten the opportunity to try Fairphone. I have not gotten the opportunity to try Nothing Phone. It's not because I don't want to. It's because, I'm paying for this out of my own money, okay? Yeah, Graphene's way better. So, I wouldn't say way better. It's just Graphene has better sandboxing, as well as there's the big argument of sandboxed Google Play versus Micro G. Basically, on Graphene, the containerization is a little bit better. That's what it comes down to. Who can recommend any good free hypervisor similar to VMware X ESXi? Proxmox. Proxmox, Zen, and there's another one that I've been wanting to try out, and my audience has mentioned it several times. I can't remember what it's called. Not Nutanix. XNG! That was it. Thank you, Aaron. That was it. Thank you. That was the one I was thinking of. I just realized my Stream Elements alerts didn't go. What the hell? Thank you for the follow, Cyber Cataclysm. Yeah, there's a few projects I want to do. VMware ESXi. The problem is ESXi went to shit because Broadcom bought them. Ever since Broadcom bought them, they kind of went... That's the honest truth. I don't know what else to tell you. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The hell? What the hell? Yeah, Stream Elements disappeared from my OBS. It must have been from the update. Oh well, I'll fix that later. What's the best for Samsung S24? I want to be able to anonymously look at furry corn. You're kind of boned on Samsung. That's the reality. Samsung, I didn't really see any alternatives put on Samsung. I'm still on stock Samsung for my Samsung, but I like the camera better on this phone. It is what it is. That's the honest truth. Although what I might end up doing soon is if I get that DJI Pocket camera, I'm probably going to start recording with that and then using CapCut on my computer and stuff to do the editing. Yep, I always recommend a Pixel. Now, when it comes to the Pixel, let me make this very clear. Don't buy it from your provider. Your provider will get certain versions of it that you will have a tougher time unlocking in my experience. I remember I went to T-Mobile, was it? And T-Mobile, their version of the Pixel 7a would not work. I had to return it, then buy it direct from Google. And for those of you that are like, well, I need to go through my provider for financing. You can finance a phone directly through Google. Yeah. Buy your phone directly from Google. You want the pure vanilla Google phone because the reality is T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, they all have custom versions of their stuff. And it's sometimes not easy to reflash those. Are refurbished ones from Amazon good? They can be. Is Zen still free? Yeah, Zen is still free. Fun fact, Cubes OS, the operating system I use on this laptop, uses Zen Hypervisor. So if you ever want a local desktop that actually runs Zen, Cubes OS is definitely worth it. That's QUBES. But let me make this very clear. If you are not comfortable with Linux, do not make Cubes OS your first one. It's kind of what I consider it is, an intermediate Linux. Use it when you're a little bit more comfortable with Linux because it is not for the faint of heart, this operating system. And Cubes is not the kind of operating system that you can also virtualize because it is the hypervisor. You need dedicated hardware for that. And when I say you need dedicated hardware, no joke, the minimum you can run with this. Not minimum, recommend, like this is literally the straight minimum. 16 gigabytes of memory. And you're going to want an Intel or AMD CPU with virtualization. So I forget what it's called on AMD, even though I have an AMD. You want Intel VTD and VTX. It must be any of the Intel processors, basically Core i series and up, for the past, since the first and second gen should work. Now, this laptop here runs a Core i7-10710U and 64 gigabytes of RAM. And there's a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, but you can probably find with 256, 512 gig NVMe SSD. I want to automate my own personal security setup on my machines and phones. Is there a way to do that? What do you mean by personal security setup, though? Could you expand on that? Didn't the SXI have some sort of issues a few years past where a vuln was used for ransomware? Yeah, every computer has had that. Remember Eternal Blue on Microsoft? Yeah, a vulnerability is a vulnerability. Here's how you need to understand. It's like, okay, they had this vulnerability a few years back. Show me an internet-connected appliance, and I will show you a vulnerability that existed at one point in time. Do not judge a computer, or specifically the software and the vendor, for the exploits they have. Judge them for how they respond to said exploits being revealed. I hear they got LoRa satellites. Yeah, it's a little bit different. For home lab, would you recommend go Meraki if the environment I work in is Meraki based? Yeah, well, a home lab is a home lab. A home lab is whatever you want to have to be able to learn to better your skills and everything. So if you want to go more into the Cisco way of things with Meraki and all that, then go with Meraki, if that's what suits you. For me, I started with pfSense. It was more about learning the concepts and everything like that, and I had no real specific need to learn Cisco and everything. I got a WatchGuard appliance eventually because I got a spare one from work, and they threw an NFR license on there, not for retail. And then I got to learn that, and I ripped that out after a while because I'm like, okay, cool. I'm no longer working with WatchGuard anymore. I'm going back to pfSense. I've been looking for a computer to throw the cubes on. Definitely. So here's a cool thing if y'all want to learn this. If you're ever looking for cheap laptops that are of good quality, you know that Dell actually has officially refurbished computers you can buy direct from them. If you go to dellrefurbish.com, you can get laptops, desktops, and workstations, as well as servers, directly from Dell. And look at this. $249. Cosmetic grade A, 14-inch laptop with a 64-bit Windows 10 professional license, 256 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM. And you can even go further and look up the model and see if they're upgradable. Got a Core i5 in there. Right there, bare minimum, good starter laptop for Cubes OS. You want a little bit more? Core i7, 10610U. 16 gigs over there and 2x8 gig sticks. So you can go through here and get some inexpensive choices, refurbished. Now, again, they're refurbished, so you maybe only have, a 30 or 90-day warranty, but these are refurbished directly from Dell. Inexpensive, cheap, good to tinker with. Get yourself a workstation. Get yourself a desktop. You've got, all these cheap options out here that are decent. Yes, you can get cheaper on eBay and everything, but this is direct from Dell. So, a little bit better in terms of the guarantee and all that. And look at that. You can get an additional 45% off right there with the code right now. Not affiliated, just happen to be there. So, there you go. There you go. Cheap and expensive laptops for y'all to do cubes and whatever you want. If you just want to hey, I need something to throw it on, there you go. It's $300. You can throw it away in a year or two. If it gets junky, you don't have to go out and spend $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on a brand new laptop. And you can always, put a little bit more memory and stuff into it and be happy. You use Tails? Tails is not that great. I think people overuse Tails. Unix is the better solution, because it's a virtual machine. The reality is, if you're using Tails on the same machine over and over and over and over again, you're kind of defeating the whole purpose of it. Just get yourself Unix, throw the gateway and the virtual machine up, connect up, and you can even set in an amnesiac. Nothing's saved there in the amnesiac state, and it enforces Tor connections a lot better. Is Google discontinuing Pixel? They did big layoffs in Pixel and Android recently, right? Well, Google's doing layoffs and all that all the time. I was kind of shocked when they did lay off all those people, but I don't really see them getting rid of the Pixel anytime soon, because Pixel is a big seller for them, and it's a big reason they're able to sell a lot of their ideas into the Android ecosystem. Because you have to remember, the reason why Google did that was a lot of vendors were producing subpar, substandard configurations and everything. So they wanted to basically raise the bar. I just pour out the whole bottle. As to what they required of vendors to basically live up to. And if it wasn't for the Pixel, Samsung and all of them wouldn't push themselves nearly as hard, because they have to compete against that. Only good deals, good deals. Is that only for the U.S.? I don't know. I have not tried to order out of the country, but Dell does have an international presence, so I wouldn't be shocked if it can go international. You might have to pay a little bit extra shipping and all that, but yeah. Disaster recovery thing that I've read. Add to flat, our refurbished ones. Wait, what does that, oh, disaster recovery? Oh, you're talking about backups and all that? It's just get yourself a NAS, back up to it remotely, back up that NAS to an S3 bucket. Very simple to set that up. Go to Wasabi, get yourself an S3 bucket. They're about $6 per terabyte per month. That's how I do my Synology. If, God forbid, a fire happens, my entire NAS is an encrypted backup in a Wasabi cloud. Yeah. I just have to pick up another Synology, grab the keys that I have backed up somewhere else for decryption, restore everything, take probably a day or two, back up and running. Favorite distro? Cubes OS, Pop OS, Debian. If I'm running a server, I'll use Ubuntu or Red Hat, depending on what needs to be done. Or just straight Debian, if I'm feeling feisty. I thought I was comfortable. Then I daily drove Parrot OS. I learned so many new things debugging and fixing stuff. Like, no joke. Cubes OS is a big reason I learned so much about how to think with compartmentalization and containerization. Because it got me to think in different ways of, now that I have this available to me, and I can isolate everything into its own virtual machine. So, like, let me give you an example here. I gotta update that laptop at some point. We'll probably do that next stream on Sunday. I'll walk you through Cubes OS a little bit. But if we go to Cubes OS, cubesos.org. If we go to Cubes OS, documentation spells out a lot, but basically you can kind of get how it works. So everything's built on the Zen hypervisor. It's a hypervisor. The administration, the system management, is in its own virtual machine. The graphical user interface is in its own virtual machine. You have the key right here for levels of trust. Everything black is safe and ultimately trusted because there's no network. And that gets gray and green and yellow and red. Now, everything is built on templates. So what happens is you build your template. It can be Windows, Debian, Fedora, Unix, whatever you want. And then you build your virtual machines off of these templates. So you update the template, not the virtual machine itself, unless it's an isolated virtual machine, like the case of a VPN or stuff like that. You'll figure it out as you tinker out. And then when you update the template, you then can restart the virtual machine it's based off of, and it bases everything off of there, because what it'll do is, depending on it, you have either a full VM, you have a app VM, you have, like, basically you have the ability for it to be completely persistent, the home drive is only persistent, or, the complete system will reset itself every time and be amnesiac. So it grabs its config from the template. So the idea is, if the computer that virtual machine ever gets compromised, you restart it, everything's purged from it, because nothing is saved persistently. It pulls from the template. So, as you can see, you have a virtual machine as well for your USB devices, another virtual machine for your networking hardware, another virtual machine for the firewall inside of it, another virtual machine for your Unix VM, which is your Tor gateway, and then you can have, like, disposable virtual machines. You can have a different application virtual machine, and you can have as many as you want and configure it in different ways and all that. No, Cubes is not using Docker, it's using Zen. You can have Docker in each VM. Docker is user space separation. It's completely different than a virtual machine. A virtual machine is completely different than Docker. Docker is only user space separation. So ideally, if you're actually running in an enterprise, what you want to do is have your applications containerized, then isolated in a virtual machine, then on top of the hardware. For multiple reasons. One, you lessen the amount of physical hardware you need to run everything. Two, you're able to isolate things a little bit better. And then, of course, you can patch it into its own VLAN if you want, and that comes down to, do you want physical isolation of the networking or virtual isolation of the networking? Or segmentation. That'd be the better word, segmentation on this. Wait, the GUI isn't, surely that doesn't prevent user kernel escalation. Yeah, it does. It does. Because your GUI is completely separate from everything. Everything is isolated from it. Like I said, so let's go back to the thing here. Let's say my computer gets compromised and you hit me from the network. You are stuck in this virtual machine over here, the networking VM. You would then have to tunnel internally in my network or do a breakout in the hypervisor to get to the rest of this. Yeah. Cubes OS is paradigm shifting in the way it gets you thinking about cybersecurity as a whole. So even if you don't use cubes daily, it's a good mental exercise to get you understanding about ways you should think about compartmentalizing everything, which then you take that knowledge and it's able to matriculate. Would the word be matriculate right? 1 second. Want to make sure I'm using that word right. Nope. I was like, that don't sound right. You would be able to comprehend different ideology, different philosophies of how you should segment your stuff. And this is what I tell people by cybersecurity is a real red pill. When I say that, not in the toxic manosphere, tater tot, Andrew sort of way. I'm talking about in the Matrix, I am Morpheus, you are the one, Neo kind of way. Because it gets you thinking about everything else you do, about how you compartmentalize. Cubes OS was a real mindfuck and revelation when you start thinking about how you want to break things out. Thoughts on NixOS? I haven't used it much, but then again, Cubes OS spoils me with the way they isolate things. I hear good things about Nix, though. VTuber Nero redeemed hydrate. Well, this is 91% water. This counts. Fedora's really solid distro. Yeah, Fedora's pretty nice. I use it as some VM images, but I'm more of a Debian guy, just comfortable with it. Linux Mint is the transitional distro. I definitely agree with the ideology. Should end up at Arch or Gentoo or Debian eventually. I'm in Pop OS. It works pretty well. I recommend that to a lot of people. Pop OS is just fine too. I like the fact that it works with NVIDIA and stuff out the box. I really can't wait until they have the Cosmic Desktop environment released into stable, because I think it'd be nice if we have the GNOME environment with their extensions rewritten in Rust like they're planning to do, because the GNOME Foundation has really lost their way. They really have. I use Garuda Linux at the moment. Is it good to jump to that as a daily driver? I don't know why everyone just jumps to Garuda. And let me guess, you did it because you're like, it's the gaming distro? You can game on Linux with any of them. I've been using Pop OS a long time for it. If it works for you, great, but I mean, there's so many choices. Just got finished doing deep dive on Kubernetes, so I'm in a good headspace to dive in. There you go. Wazzle? Wait, what? Oh, was that from here testing my Pixel on Android 16 beta? Nice. Hey man, all here. Tinker with Home Labbing. What is your take on Cloudflare tunnels? You talking about the Argo tunnels? They're really great to learn and understand, especially if you're trying to run stuff in your home lab and have them publicly exposed to the internet, because it at least allows a little bit of obfuscation around your endpoints. So I think they're worthwhile to dive into. I'm really itchy for some reason. Slackware is good practice in learning Linux OS and package dependencies. I have not used Slackware since I was a kid. I always forget that exists. That's one of the OGs. Why have the overhead of the hypervisor instead of just running Docker on a lightweight host directly? Because Docker is user space separation, whereas a virtual machine is hardware separation. Docker allows some protection, so you would actually want to layer your security. So I would recommend using Docker inside of a virtual machine to be your host. Because then what you can actually do is, think of it as a Russian nesting doll. Got one doll inside the other doll inside the other doll. And you can do a lot more with a hypervisor and how you configure things, because some hosts like FreeBSD for different things. Some hosts like Linux and Windows. And I know you can do some things with Docker, but Docker doesn't work, what about performance considerations? Well, with modern hardware, they have accelerations that virtual machines actually run at, and sometimes faster performance than bare metal. It's really not a consideration anymore. It's more so hardware that you are provisioning to the virtual machine that is of consideration. So, do you have enough CPU cores do you want to dedicate to this virtual machine? Do you want to do that? There's not as much overhead as people really think there is anymore. Like I run a 5950X computer. I've literally had like 3-4 virtual machines I forgot running at any given time while I'm playing video games. Didn't even see a difference on my video game. Docker and Alpine with the Portainer front end. But yeah, but they're totally different things. Is there infrastructure as code for Cubes, i.e. Terraform? They do have their ways of programming things, but Cubes is not really designed to be that kind of system, per se. You can deploy your own templates and stuff like that, but it's not really terraformable, like, in that way. You would probably be looking at a proper server operating system. This isn't meant to be a server operating system. You can run it as that way and pipe your stuff through, but it's really hard to get stuff publicly facing. It's not really meant for that kind of thing. What's a good OpenWRT compatible router that's mesh compatible? I can't do wired APs, unfortunately. I don't know about OpenWRT, but because I haven't dealt with them too much. I've been in the pfSense world a little too long. I kind of forgot about a lot of the OpenWRT stuff, but I do know the Unify access points I use don't need a wired backhaul. A wired network is ideal, but you can run Unify equipment as a mesh point with wireless all around there. All you have to do is give it power and then configure it. So you do have to at least connect it to a switch for the initial config, I think it is. But not after that, you can do a mesh. Yeah, the problem with pfSense and Pi, it's not people have not been able to fully rebuild it, especially with all the libraries. And not only that, no, look. You say it's possible. Look what it says. pfSense on a Raspberry Pi. No, it's not possible. There's pfSense CE for ARM. No, pfSense does not run on the Raspberry Pi model. And the other reason why it doesn't work? USB NICs and all that. FreeBSD isn't always up to date with a lot of that stuff. It's a little behind on things. In my country, the tax agency using Windows 7 or XP. Some low-end tinies. I wouldn't do it. So, what? I am lost there. Okay. On tunnels. Do you see any problem with them, Cloudflare, having full non-encrypted raw data and access? Here's the reality. If you're that worried, see, let me put it this way. If you're trying to be completely private, you would have to run all of your own infrastructure. As soon as you try, working with other vendors so that you can actually protect yourself better, you're going to have to hand over some trust at some level. So, that's the trade-off. Like, let me put it this way. If you're familiar with the enterprise zero trust network access software of Zscaler, Cisco has their own alternative with Cisco Zero Connect or whatever the hell. I don't know about the Cisco lines for that. But like Zero Trust Network Access and things like that. Then you know that you're going to have to hand over trust and everything like that. But the difference is that Cloudflare has so many different privacy policies and things like that around how they handle data and everything. But if you're really that worried about Cloudflare having access to your data, what are you doing, bro? That's the honest truth. But they're fine. Many businesses use them. They run a lot of the internet. It's not as much of that issue. Have you heard about Risk Zero? I have not. Is that related to Risk 5 or totally different? Only a question. How are the beads in the background always moving? Is there a fan or something? Yeah, there's a fan, so I have a constant breeze. It gets stuffy over here otherwise. There's a heater over there, a gas heater in the corner of the basement, keeping this entire basement warm, so I gotta keep, like, airflow going, otherwise it gets really stuffy in this corner. I think it's just trust issues. Yeah. TikTok doesn't allow me to watch one live from 2 different phones. What are you doing, bro? The backport new Teams client and send taxes over in plain text. Wait, what? Totally different as far as I understand. My next guess was magic. Nah, basically, we're just over here telling the, beads over there.
Move, bitch! Get out the way!
Okay, LOL, my next guess. Something cryptography, cloud computing, or something. Look, I will always trust a computer company that has a whole wall of lava lamps. There's something about lava lamps. Damn, meanwhile, I'm freezing. Negative 57 outside and only 12 inside. Is that Fahrenheit, or is that in civilized units? Because, it's a nice, balmy 24.6 degrees Celsius here. Holy shit. Negative 57 Celsius? Where the fuck are you, man? Look, man, I call them civilized units because the United States needs to join the rest of the world and get with the fucking program! Fuck these inches, and fuck these feet, and fuck these yards. I want a base system of 10, motherfucker! I shouldn't have to know that there is 12 inches in a foot, and 36 inches in a yard, or 3 feet, and 5,280 feet in a mile. I want my brain to know. Milli, deci, hecti, or like, what is it? You got like 1,000, 10, whatever, all that. It gets that cold in Alberta. So how do y'all feel about like Schmucko in Chief over in the U.S. trying to make Canada into the 51st state? I think it's kind of effed, and just shows how ignorant he is. But I'm just curious what actual Canadians think. Like, I hear about it, all that, but, like, I only hear things secondhand. You know what I mean? Alberta would be more likely to be the 51st state. What makes you say that? I'm curious. The U.S. will really use anything but the metric system. We literally measure things in, like, elephants and cars. It's the Texas of Canada. I'm more concerned about the warmongering in the Middle East. That's been going on for a while. The problem is we've had dickheads that warmonger shit for the past 40 years. Maybe 50. Yeah, sounds about right, 50. We'll give better explanation in Discord. Okay, appreciate that. And they don't ever ask, but that's not related. We have popcorn in Europe. Like, holy moly, it's going to be an interesting 4 years. Not for us! I'm tired of living in unprecedented times. I want to live in precedented times! Why does every fucking year of my life gotta be like a historical year, like ever since 9/11? Like, I'm tired of this shit. Let me just have a boring year. I like Canada. They want me to go faster when I'm going 100. The funny thing about Canada was, I think it was many years ago. My dad speaks French. He purposely asked for a French police officer because he knew the officer that pulled him over didn't know French and they didn't want to give him one. They just let him go. This was years ago. I don't think the cloud will last much longer. I don't think so either at the rate he's going. Not even 2 months in, he's looking at articles of impeachment. Several different judges have struck down his orders. He's dismantling the government so hard that it's going to take us years to rebuild a whole bunch of different systems. In fact, I kind of want him to go a little bit longer to just show how bad things are. Like, look how expensive eggs are and groceries and everything there. Because I want a lot of the people that voted for Donald Trump to wake the fuck up. And I want to get the people that are voting, Republican no matter what, to really wake up and see what Republicans do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Democrat either. They can go to hell too. But right now, it's not the issue of a giant douche versus a turd sandwich. It's the issue of a giant douche versus a turd sandwich with bloody hemorrhoid ass juice in it. What side is -3? Because of the big industry and money. World maps will need to change with Canada as part of EOS. Yeah. I can't believe Google capitulated and actually named it the Gulf of America. It's been the Gulf of Mexico for way too long. It's never been the Gulf of America. And what's even funnier is when you understand the rest of the Hispanic countries refer to America as the Americas. So congratulations. You just kind of played into that. Oh, by the way, did you see that Coca-Cola fucked up? Did you see Coca-Cola's plummeting? So basically, my understanding is they shut down a few factories with Hispanic people, then called ICE on them. What they didn't realize is, I think Mexico's their #1 market. Apparently, a lot of people in Latin America, Latin American countries, Hispanic countries, are drinking anything but Coke right now. But talk about shooting yourselves in the foot, man. There's an old Chinese curse. It's, may you live an interesting life, and now I understand it now. I don't want to be interesting. I want to be boring. Do you know how bad you have to fuck up for Quebec to say they're Canadian? Yeah. Quebec has been trying to become their own fucking country for years. They got their own fucking hillbilly French. Québécois. Which, to be honest, I don't know what's more fucked up, Creole or Québécois. Don't mind me. I'm the son of a French-speaking Moroccan. He needs to fix the healthcare system, but no mention of it. No, he's freaking messing it up. Yeah, there's a specific Mexican Coca-Cola that tastes better. Yeah, they have actual syrup versus, what do you call it? Corn syrup. I mean, they have actual sugar, not corn syrup. Sorry. Yeah, Mexican Coke was the only Coke I would drink, but now they can go F themselves. It's Doritos for me. Which, by the way, Doritos is much better. I like that anyway. Mango Doritos is my jam! Ah. Those assholes hired the people. Yeah, that's how they screwed themselves. How are you gonna call ICE on all them? Being called an American by the Europeans is one of the worst insults as a Canadian, but then they get defensive when disproven. I can believe it. You actually need to fix your tax code, but they never will. No, they won't fix the tax code because, as I was saying earlier, right now, the theory going around that why they're trying to cut all the spending is they're trying to pass a major tax cut bill for the rich and the wealthy and corporations. But the problem is, corporations already are basically paying like next to nothing in taxes to the point that a lot of corporations are actually getting refunds. And the only way they can justify further tax cuts is if they can displace the income or reduce the government expenditure. That's why there's tariffs they're trying to do. Because here's the thing a lot of people don't know. Prior to the income tax in the United States, a lot of our taxes were derived through tariffs. Trump's basically trying to get rid of the income tax by displacing it with tariffs. As well as, putting more of that on the backs of the poor people. Just saying. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here, but it tracks. Won't they have to print more money if consumer spending slows down? No matter what, they're going to have to print more money. The reality is the government has been spending too much money because we haven't been bringing in enough money. We honestly need to be taxing the rich and the wealthy more. And I'm not saying that as some radical person that's like, kill the rich. I'm saying that as the wealth inequality is way too high, and people like Elon Musk already have more wealth than they ever will be able to spend in their entire life. At least until their stocks completely crash, because most of their wealth is derived through assets. That's the reality of things. It's really hard to believe that any individual should have billions of dollars. Like, I've done the math here. If I were to have just $10 million, not even that, $5 million, let's pull up a calculator for a second, okay? Let's pull up a calculator. I want you to see this, so you understand my line of thinking here. Nerd Wallet investment calculator. All right? Let's pull up the investment calculator here. So let's say we want to match my, not my salary, but let's say a good salary of $120,000 I live per year, okay? Let's just start with $5 million here. And let's just say it's at a decent high-yield savings account. We're not talking about even investing at 10% growth or anything like that. And let's get a compound in interest. That'd be monthly. You are looking at roughly $208,000 just in investment to return from your high-yield savings account with a $5 million balance in it. This is an extremely, extremely conservative way to invest. This is literally having your money completely in a liquid high-yield savings account. Money market, whatever, 4.1%. That's not outlandish. That is literally the same percentage rate I get for my high-yield savings account I put my emergency money in. So while I'm setting aside for emergency, I'm at least letting it grow. So with $5 million, you'd already make quite a bit of money. So now let's take that to just 50 million. You're literally sitting on 2 mil a year from your 50 mil. Just sitting there compounding money. Even once you bring it to the 500 mil, talking 20 mil a year. This is why when they say the rich just get richer, this is exactly what they mean. But then us. Let's just say you do $1,000 of a start. And you can only put like maybe $100. You'll maybe like with compounding and everything, so $100 per month put in, you'd only get $64.59 out of it. But where the investment will give you profit from if it will not grow, zero-sum game. But liquid assets versus like shares in a company. Well, the average, the average growth of the S&P 500 since the 20s or something like that, even through the stock market or 1900s or that, is 10%. Yeah, unless you're spending money into new ventures, there's no logical way to spend over 5 mil. That's the honest truth. I put in some money a couple years back in magical car payment money, but just one payment. See, that's my point. Like, $1,000, and here's the thing, $1,000 is already more of an emergency fund than many Americans have saved. I think it was something like they said, like, only 40% of Americans, don't quote me on this, I'm making the number a little bit wrong, but it was a shockingly amount of people. Like, only 30 or 40% of Americans actually have $1,000 set aside for an emergency. Wait, so am I stressing about only having a few million in my retirement by retirement age? Potentially, yes, but you got to remember the cost of inflation and everything. So let's do investment calculator with inflation. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's say we have the expected inflation rate of 2.9%. Now you have an effective tax rate of 15%. You want to invest for like 35 years or so. Not 350. God, we're not freaking elves here. With a conservative 7% return at a $100,000 initial investment, which is a little bit high. Let's even just say you have a $5,000 initial investment. You invest maybe another, let's say, 100 per week. Okay? Like your 401k, you're doing a matching 401k, your employer's throwing something in. That's not too outlandish, okay? I know some of you will be like, that's a lot of money as you get into your career. Not really. Well, yeah, Roth IRAs, 401ks, but most people can use 401k, and that's taxable upon pulling it out and stuff like that, I think. I don't know the specifics, but yeah. So, now, you adjust it for inflation. See that? It actually adjusts everything. So there is a little bit more math into it. And that's why I recommend y'all get a financial planner that's a fiduciary. Don't try winging it yourself. Or using Roth IRAs and 401ks. Yeah. I have a Roth IRA. I have a 401k. Shit, I gotta call my planner. Thank you for reminding me. Once I figure out what my budget is, I gotta up my Roth IRA contribution. But yeah, the whole system is broken, but we'll never fix it. So learn the game and play it. Absolutely. That's why I tell people the tax code is the code to being rich. If you learn the tax code, you can learn to maximize your money. Think of it like a cheat code. There is one thing that Donald Trump was right on. He gamed the system, and he used the tax code for his advantage. You can take care of the same tax advantages and everything. think it was Forbes that had an article a few years back that said to feel truly rich, you only needed $7 million. Rule of 7 says you'll double your money every 7 years at 7%. Makes sense. Do you use any Linux budgeting or investing software? Kind of. So one thing I've actually done, y'all are welcome to use this and double check my work and everything. So one thing I did for a learning project for Python, I made a series of Python scripts over here. You've got your auto loan, budget planner, compound interest, debt payoff, emergency fund, loan savings comparison, long weekend planner. That's one of my favorites because it tells you when you can take an extra day off so that you can actually plan ahead. So like say you have Thanksgiving, it'll tell you, hey, that Friday, if you take it off, you get a 4-day weekend. If, you're not given Friday off, like that kind of thing. You got the mortgage, personal loan, the no, that's different. The retirement, the savings goal, the stock growth. These are little tools I made. I had to use ChatGPT for a few of the code snippets, but yeah. What's the loophole with no tax on tips one can take advantage? My understanding is that's when you tell people it's cash and that it's not a tip, it's a gift. And here, for any of you, like, people that are going to be the people that suck at parties, yeah, it's cash. How are you going to track that? I really think it's fucked that we tax tips. BG, Google, when you, sorry. Cash register. Yeah, tips or gifts. I remember there was a friend of mine who was a libertarian, and he used to have these business cards he'd hand out whenever he was giving a tip that would purposely say, this is not a tip, this is a gift, so you don't need to claim it on your taxes or that. You're pretty much bet on an index fund, you'll get that 7% over time. Yeah. I invest in a few index funds. I got a few. So I do invest with Public if y'all want to ever get in on that. Just shameless plug. Shit, where's my phone? Oh, there's my phone. So I have a few index funds I'm in. One tracks Republicans, one tracks Democrats. I have the S&P 500. I have hold on. A cybersecurity ETF, QQQ to follow the NASDAQ 500, the Vanguard S&P 500. I've got one to track the treasury bonds, treasury fund and all that. And I've also got one that's a dividend-focused ETF, as well as I've got an ETF on gold. If that's all, that doesn't make them rely on tips. Yeah, but that would require people to actually pay. Which does the best? So here's the thing. I diversify. You should always have a diversified investment portfolio. So I'm equally split across, well, more or less across different things. Like here, I can tell you my split. 1 second. Where's the button? Settings, no. It is holdings, I think it is. Okay. I'm about 9% in S&P 500, about 9% in QQQ, about 9% in Cybersecurity ETF, about 8% in VOO, about 6% in both the Democrat and Republican ETFs to track them, 5% in my dividend fund, dividend-focused ETF, close to 3% for the one that tracks bonds, and close to 2% on my gold ETF. And what I actually do is I have it automatically invest every 2 weeks. So the day my paycheck hits, My Roth IRA immediately pulls money. My public trading account pulls money. And then my mortgage also gets paid automatically. Every 2 weeks. That's taken care of for me. I don't have to worry about it. It's taken care of. It's great. But yeah. And then it automatically invests in the different tools, and I have a split and all that. It works well for me. I need to move some money into an R&D tracking fund. Yeah. Well, if you ever want, you can follow my public profile. I actually do post when I do my trades and stuff like that often. So, it's a good way to track different things. And of course, you know, I should rename that cryptocurrency channel in the Discord to cryptocurrency investing as a whole. I'm just going to do that now. Cryptocurrency stonks. There we go. The cryptocurrency channel is now stonks. Investing and gambling? I don't gamble. Although I am working on a little AI thing with Yits that will automatically do trades on Solana and eventually Ethereum and stuff. You're in cryptocurrency? I've been in cryptocurrency for about 10 years. Close to 15 years now. Fuck, I'm old! Wicked. I remember reading the Bitcoin white paper on the kernel.org forums for Linux when it was floating around. I think that was late 2009. I remember literally mining Bitcoin on a laptop for fun. Not 20 years, it's 2009. It started about 15 years ago. I was never heavy into cryptocurrency. I was never a crypto bro. But my falafel shop will tell you that I did come up to them in like 2012 and say, you should think about taking Bitcoin for a falafel. You know, if they had actually taken my Bitcoin for a falafel at that point and just held on to that Bitcoin, they'd all be rich. They said that to me. I remember when mining was more viable. Oh yeah, it was great. The problem is my ADHD worked against me because I remember almost all the Bitcoin that I mined happened to be on a laptop, and that Bitcoin I did save. Don't get me wrong. Why I didn't have more was my girlfriend at the time was really pissed off that laptop was so loud, and she basically was like, you know what? If you turn that laptop off, I will fuck you right now. And I'm like, okay, laptop's off, and we're getting some nookie. I had $20 in a week ago. I think it was around $8.50 a day. I have more than that in cryptocurrency. I'm not by any means like saying like I'm wealthy in it. And overall, in terms of investments, I have I have less in cryptocurrency than I do in my regular stock fund, and way less than my Roth IRA and all that other stuff. Cryptocurrency is my fun play money. I probably put about $100 every 2 weeks. Well, crypto is more of a gamble depending on how you do things. So one of the ways I do it is I actually put it into stable coins. So like I was talking about with the high yield savings account. So a stable coin is pegged to the dollar. So I use USDC for a lot of this stuff. Some people will use USDT, all that. So I actually have that there. Now, if you keep your USDC in, say, Coinbase, you can earn equivalent to a high-yield savings account at 4.1%. And it's a stable coin pegged to the dollar, so it will stay at $1. But what you can do is you can go to a decentralized finance place like Aave, AAVE, and you can actually lend your cryptocurrency out, your stable coin, and instead of making 4.1%, make 12% on a stable coin. So the value never is less than $1. And USDC has been audited and proves that they do have assets in their coffers for USDC. So I basically buy my dollar, I buy stable coins in dollars. Do a 1-to-1 conversion. So that's how I do things. As well as like when people are like, oh no, I'm losing money and all that. Just put into a stable coin and then lend it out and then make 12%. So why doesn't everyone use Aave to get 12%? Simply put, most people using cryptocurrency don't even run their own wallet, unfortunately. If you don't know how to run your own wallet, then you're never going to get the full capability out of doing cryptocurrency. Most people messing with cryptocurrency are valuing their cryptocurrency in centralized exchanges and still thinking of like, I'm going to make this many dollars in Solana. I'm going to make this many dollars in Ethereum. But once you go to decentralized finance, it's not really dollars per se. It's you're focusing on that currency, and then you have other tokens and stuff that work underneath it too. There's a whole other like DeFi market with things. There's a whole different set of fundamentals when it comes to it. And you can even do staking of like Cardano and different coins, and you can stake your Ethereum, you can stake your Cardano, you can stake your Solana, and you can have interest on those actually earning too. So the reason why most people don't use it is simple. You can't access a lot of all of decentralized finance unless you have your cryptocurrency in your own wallet. At least a software wallet. But most of you clowns are just going to be like, well, I'm just going to fire up MetaMask and have it locally hosted on my computer, and some malware just swept it out of my wallet. Fuck. You know what I mean? Which is why I talk about hardware wallets. And if you're wondering what hardware wallet I recommend, the Trezor. The Safe 3 is more than enough. I have the link to that in my bio. Yes, there's a Safe 5, which is a bigger screen, and it's apparently easier to use in terms of a touchscreen and everything, but seriously, these buttons are all you need. Buttons and tiny screen. It's fine. It's inexpensive. It's great. And then store your seed key on secure devices. I have another Trezor I'm saving up. I'm setting up to have a Shamir shard. Everything. Most people with crypto have little knowledge of it. Most don't research very far. No, they don't. That's the problem. And that's why people lose their ass in cryptocurrency. Because, like, people will buy fucking stupid meme coins. I remember when Dogecoin came out. Dogecoin, when it came out, was a great idea. It was literally meant to be a worthless cryptocurrency that intentionally didn't take itself seriously and was meant to be the beginner cryptocurrency for people to learn, understand, and use to be able to understand the fundamentals of how a cryptocurrency works, with the idea that you would take this knowledge and apply it to the rest of cryptocurrency. It was never meant to be fucking taken seriously as a coin that's going to go to $1. You mean that Trump coin ain't shit? When the Chief Geek 3D coin come out? Never! There will never be a Chief Geek 3D coin. There will be stupid things that I do with my friends. Like, I have literally made an NFT of one of my friend's nipples. And if you don't believe me, go ask my co-admin inside of my Discord, Darko. Doja's serious now. Gov agencies is called by it. I don't get it. Octua coin, another meme coins being a quick pump and dump scan. Yeah. But the honest truth is, I'm not dumb. If there's potential to make money, I'll look at ways of doing it. I'm not going to buy a bunch of meme coins and all that. What I'm going to do is monitor what the whales are doing. And I'm going to make a bot to just monitor their moves. So when they start buying coins, I'll buy it and do a move proportional to them based on the amount of money I have. Say I have 1 Solana. They've got 1 million Solana. Whatever proportional to their wallet that they have in there, I will put in to, whatever the coins are. What about me, Greg? Can you milk me? Does that mean almonds have... You can milk anything with nipples. What the fuck? We could try. Doge's supposed to be a teaching tool, but it got so out of hand a government agency is named after it. Yeah, I don't get it. I got into one of my friend's office because someone forgot to change the code for the lock. Yeah. That tracks. But yeah, there's a lot of, I don't understand where everybody goes, why people are jumping into meme coins. I don't understand why people are, disregarding fundamentals of stocks and everything like that. Like, the fact that Tesla is valued as high as it is, when it's not nearly as valuable as they claim, just blows my fucking mind. Or you had, what's the other one? AMC Theaters, GameStop. Remember when they were pushing that so high? That made no sense to me whatsoever. Nvidia stock is a totally different thing. Nvidia actually does have, shit they're selling. They have, a massive market. It's a little bit different. Are they overpriced? Yes, but not nearly the levels of, Tesla. You expect the average person to understand fundamentals of the market? The average person, I had to explain what a fucking tariff was. I can't believe there are actual people that thought, tariffs are paid for by the other country. And then didn't understand that, I literally had to go through this thought experiment with so many people. I'm like, okay, let's think about this for a second. Let's say what you say is true, that the other government pays for it, which is not true. What do you think happens? That means the price of that product coming in would still get up, and the price would still get passed off to you. The fact that I have to explain to people how tariffs work. Wasn't GME an attempt at sticking it to hedge funds? Yeah. They did. That still doesn't mean that it's not overvalued. Don't get me wrong. You have, Wall Street bets. You have people that don't understand shit. Did you see the guy that, literally lost... So his grandfather, willed him, $1 million or $2 million. And he YOLO'd it into Trump coin? Did y'all see that shit? What pissed me off was that all the people thinking that stock prices could directly correlate to a company's worth. Yeah. It is shocking when people think that. The fact that I have to explain to people, also Twitter is not worth the value it once was, because there's more to a company's value than its stock value. There's the brand value. There's the actual revenue assets, the whole balance sheet of the company. There's a lot that goes into company evaluation. And some stocks are, basically valued at, a 2x, 3x, but I think, what is it? Tesla's at a crazy 10x. And I don't mean in terms of, how much money they've made. I mean in terms of the overvaluation of the company. The problem with a lot of the people investing in stocks is they're not investing in the value of the company as it is. They're investing in the company of the value they think it will be. And that's a very dangerous game to play. I was part of a startup that did company valuations and used a certain model to guesstimate stock value price. It was really interesting. Oh yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Like if you're in a startup or something like that, your initial investor owning a certain percent of shares can then throw the valuation of your entire company through a loop. You know what I mean? Like, so like you sell 2% and they happen to invest like $1 million. That throws your complete company evaluation through the ceiling, but then can overinflate your value immensely. I'm oversimplifying that argument just for a lot of people to understand, but that's basically how it can work. And then a lot of people don't even understand, a lot of people don't understand that there are stocks and shares of companies that are traded off market. Like, a lot of people think that stocks only apply to publicly traded companies, but there's a lot of stocks that go in the private markets. Then you have, Series A and Series B shares or whatever it is. Like, you have these different types of shares, so you can actually issue shares of a company that don't have voting rights, and there's ways to dilute the ability to have the regular public have their voice in different shares, and it's really weird how you can do all these different things with publicly traded corporations. Do you worry about Doge and Social Security and Medicare for your future? I'm disabled on it and now really worried about its future. Absolutely. So one thing I was hoping to sit down and record this weekend was my perspective as a cybersecurity engineer on the whole compromise of the entire governmental systems as we know it by Elon. And the reality is, objectively speaking, putting all politics aside, just looking at this as a professional, he had unauthorized access, he did not have the clearance to access those systems, and he did it in an extremely haphazard way. He basically brute forced his way in. And not only that, the courts have agreed that that wasn't right. For all intents and purposes, we must treat the Treasury, as well as other government agencies, as compromised in the same way that one would treat a compromised system in a business. Which means, at this point, we would freeze the system, we would do a deep forensic audit, we would begin mitigations, we would give our analysis to the holders, and we would then work upon the mitigations that go on in there. Having a few 18 to 25-year-olds in charge, yeah, the reason why he went with those, they're kids that really can't think for themselves, that their brains haven't fully developed. One of them, by the way, had to resign because we found he literally was making racist posts, even talking about eugenics. Not hyperbole. The Wall Street Journal came out with it. And for anyone that's like, the Wall Street Journal is just mainstream media. The Wall Street Journal leans heavily conservative. Mostly a business journal, but they're more conservative. Who would do an audit? I can't think of a single bipartisan group that wouldn't be accused of having an agenda. There's many government workers that are independent. There's many different organizations that run around in this. Everyone has an agenda. But the one thing I will say is that the people we had in government running Treasury and stuff like that were doing it with the best of their heart. You can say what you will about the personal views of many people that are running inside the government. The regular government. But they do a good job of putting their own personal agendas aside, a lot of these federal workers, to do what is best for the country. I have a lot of friends that work in government and stuff like that. We disagree all the time, but I will never question their integrity when it came to their job. And yeah, so the reality is, that's where you have the inspectors general. The inspectors general are there to be the watchdogs for government. And who were some of the first people that Donald Trump went and tried to fire? The inspectors general. CISA didn't have an agenda, but when they didn't agree, yeah. CISA has had a history of being impartial for as long as they've existed in the past decade. And here's the funny part. CISA was created by Donald Trump. And CISA themselves stood up to Donald Trump when they said the election wasn't stolen. And what was it, the November before he left office, or December, he fired the head of CISA. Now there's no one sitting at CISA. And I don't think there's anyone that has any integrity that would actually be at CISA while Donald Trump is, president. And the honest truth is, I don't think he cares. So, it's unfortunate. In my opinion, you should get the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act book thrown at him. I don't disagree with that. I work for an ESOP. All the stock is owned by the employees, and we get an allocation annually. Nice. I question a lot of companies with a high PE ratio and maybe no positive income. Well, yeah, it's like you look at Elon Musk. He's a very big welfare queen. Think about it. According to the recent earnings report, about 40% of revenue came from selling carbon credits. Carbon credits are a stupid, fucking corrupt system that should never have existed. Never. Yeah. Not only that, he is dependent upon tax credits for his vehicles to be sold. SpaceX, government funds. He is the biggest welfare queen. He's a welfare whore. Yeah, who cares about Volt Typhoon or Salt Typhoon? Sounds about right. DT creates a program, fails audit from said program, tries to remove program. Yeah, pretty much. So, but yeah, it's, oh yeah, and these kids that are 18 to 25 years old, you realize they're trying to interact with computer systems they have no understanding of. And I don't mean that as in like, oh, what, the systems tie in. They're written in COBOL, Fortran, Pascal. These are languages they never have actually interacted with before. At least Tesla chargers are free in my country. Your Tesla chargers are more free than our country. Computer systems that are older than their parents. Absolutely. Oh, and speaking of parents, you know that one of the guys, dads owns Lesser Evil Snacks and is getting boycotted to hell? The honest truth is I feel sorry for these kids. Not enough to, like, not hate on them. But I feel sorry for these 7 kids. Because they don't realize how much they fucked up their life. And it hasn't even started. Imagine you are as old as 25 and as young as 18. Your name is plastered everywhere. All right? I hate to break it to these guys, but there's a lot of women that ain't gonna never touch you. And if they happen to swing for, the other team, there's a lot of guys that definitely won't touch them. They've been brainwashed. Like, I need you to understand, like, it's not good when people can Google your name in news articles on your first date like that. But not only that, because of the things that they've done, they won't be able to really get jobs as easily. when you're associated with the things that are being done there towards our government, it makes anyone question you when you work on computer systems moving forward. Because a lot of companies in tech want to get government contracts, need to pass government background checks. Not going to happen. Enjoy that high life for the next year or two. But we all know when midterms come in 2 years, Republicans are boned. Because I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to have an extreme lack of enthusiasm on the Republican side because they didn't keep their promises, and we've seen all this craziness and everything happen. And Democrats are going to win. And historically, presidents lose seats in their midterm. Yeah. It is what it is. The whole system is completely broken. We're going to need to do a whole cleaning of house and systems and everything. Hell, this might actually be the actual push we needed to modernize a lot of the government systems. Because if we can start on a fresh, clean slate, we can get with a lot more modern systems that are a lot more efficient. Maybe move away from COBOL and Fortran and all that. Also on states, but Elon is being accused of election interference in Canada and Germany. I saw it. I wouldn't be surprised. What I'm really curious about is how the German elections are going to turn out. Because I know he's really pushed for AfD. If this ends up turning the tide to really push back all the support AfD was recently getting, like they were kind of growing a little bit silently, that would be a referendum on Elon. And it's my hope, how likely this happens, Elon Musk may have finally made the case for a lot of people to try to strip billionaires of a lot of their wealth, which gives them power. But also, you know that Elon Musk has admitted to a lot of illicit drugs and everything like that. And there's a likelihood that he could quite, unalive himself. There's a possibility there. Because a lot of his attitude, no joke, especially the whole nodding off, like kind of doing the whole spacey thing at that, is just indicative of serious drug use. Best thing would be for him to jump in a K-hole and never return. I don't hope that happens, because I don't wish ill will on anyone, but I wouldn't shed a tear. Like, let me put it this way. If a man is willing to lie about playing a video game and being as good as he is, they're willing to lie at anything. Nobody needs to lie about a video game. But right now, as I said on Blue Sky earlier, which is why y'all gotta follow me on Blue Sky and Mastodon, as well as YouTube and everything else. The USA has shifted from a democracy to a kakistocracy, wrapped in an oligarchy with a generous sprinkling of kleptocracy. Quite the political buffet, huh? Can you tell I actually studied political science when I can use that? Pierre had so much traction a year ago, but then Elon doing that, Carney undermining his platform and getting endorsed by the neos, it was a overwhelming shift in the polls. I can believe it. You gotta shed one tear. You're right. Tears of joy. Musk is totally living in his own reality. It's terrifying. Well, yeah. Because the man has obviously not actually lived in the reality with the rest of us. Musk has never had to deal with hardship. Neither has Donald Trump. Donald Trump, let's remember, was the man who was quoted as saying, I got a small loan of $1 million from my father. Yeah, a small loan is $1 million. In what, the 70s or 80s? Fuck, give me a small loan of $1 million. Was it 14? Like, that makes it any better. Europe would be probably thinking of shutting off Tesla for Europe. I can believe it. Now, here's the cool thing, is if and when Tesla collapses, you realize that might take Twitter with it. Because Twitter was propped up by Tesla stock. The purchase was made in part with Tesla stock. Banks were already trying to offload his debt for a while. And that debt messed up a lot of banks for a while. A lot of investors and investor bankers and all that didn't get a lot of their bonuses and all that. Like, boo-hoo, the poor bankers. Our thinking is taking a lot of time, though. What do you mean? And a lot of jobs. Maybe we'll see if we have elections that are somewhat free and fair. Yeah, we'll see. Here's the thing. America's gone through some tough times. We've gone through some constitutional crises. Like Andrew Jackson. We've gone through... whatever you may think of Lincoln, he did enact martial law and restrict some rights during the Civil War. We've gone through some tough times. We've managed to come out of it. We may come out differently, but we've come out of it. We'll see how we fare. But I will say that by undoing U.S. aid, we basically tilt our power to China, because China is winning the goodwill in the world. They're not holding a gun to anyone's head. They're opening suitcases of money and saying, we would like to invest in you and your infrastructure. Work with us. The Belt and Road Initiative. Bonuses, I can't wait to get my 1.5%. I got my raise at least 2.5%. And a bonus. So I'll have a new laptop and some camera equipment coming in. But, thankfully I'm in a company, that is kind of insulated from the things going on. Sort of. The tariffs would fuck us, let's be honest. I've kind of been getting the, sticking my finger in the weather, the feel of the air. Stick your finger in the air to kind of gauge the temperature. To see what the directors and executives have been feeling. Even the people that are a bit more wealthy are not liking this. Are you investing in bricks? Not really, but I am investing in metals. I have a diversified portfolio, so I have a little bit of metals. I have a little bit of cryptocurrency, stocks, of course your Roth IRA, 401k, and then emergency cash is in a high-yield savings account. I'm trying to rebuild my emergency fund because my dad, I had to take my dad to court and get a restraining order. He drained my personal account of several $1,000s, and I had to pull out of my retirement to make myself whole. My dad's an asshole. There's a reason why we don't speak. And that asshole tried to get me fired from my job by making a bunch of shit and threatening to cause shit at my work. But yeah, anyway. Yeah. Need to quit my job. 0% last cycle, 1% the one before, never any bonuses. Oof. bites, buddy. You should always get raises. Shit gets more expensive. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what position are you in? Yep, no soft power anymore. European Parliament is slow because every country has to agree on that legislation. Yeah, I know. The European Union is kind of weird with certain things. Not gonna lie, even in bird of the tariff war is still actively going on with people regardless of it being paused. It's been interesting watching the industries actively avoiding American products and contracts. I can understand it. I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Ontario that cut off the $100 million Starlink? And then I know what you had, the LCBO took American whiskey and stuff off the shelves. I think it was them. Because I understand that Canada is the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world. BC and Ontario. Okay. Sorry, I'm not too familiar with the geography and, like, the provinces of Canada and everything like that. So forgive me if I get some things wrong there. But yeah, I thought that was the case. Yeah. It's been interesting seeing Trump actually show how weak he is. Like, what motherfucker goes to the negotiating table and literally says, Canada, we want you to label the Mexican cartels as terrorists. You understand why I'm giving you that look right now. Mexican cartels in Canada. We're not just talking about one country up. We're talking about two countries up. And then it's like, we want you to commit to border security. And they're like, well, we can commit $1.3 billion. Apparently they did that last year. Oh, Mexico. We want you to put 10,000 troops at the border. How many troops are we already sending up there? 15,000? There we go. Well, we'll send you 10,000 troops. Okay, negotiation done. All that for nothing. Now, here's what's even worse. Donald Trump said he's going to save TikTok, right? Because of his tariffs on China, ByteDance is dragging their feet to try to get it sold to American companies. ByteDance would rather see their operations decline than actually destroyed in America than they would actually sell to, Donald Trump getting that. And if Donald Trump lets TikTok die, he has that on his head. And it's going to show how weak he is. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are having their Icarus moment. How many of you are familiar with the mythology of Icarus? Y'all know about this, Icarus? Where an Icarus had wings fashioned of wax so they could fly, and they got too close to the sun, and their wings started to melt, and they fell to the earth. USPS also reversed today. Wait, did they reverse again? No, they didn't reverse again. They resumed packages. That was yesterday. He's had so many Icarus moments, though. He's like goose poop. Yeah. I was like, wait, did they flip-flop again? I was like, that'd be really quick. Like, we're stopping all mail. We're letting all the mail in. We're stopping all mail. That would have been so fucked if it would flip-flop like that. I think somebody probably pulled the ear of Trump and said, do you realize how much you're going to fuck people up? You're stopping them from what they already bought. And then it was like, Probably Jeff Bezos, like, do you realize how much of our supply chain actually comes from China in Amazon? Like, Amazon is not the only one getting orders directly from China. It's Amazon, Temu, Shein, AliExpress, and then every single, like my Lenovo laptops and stuff like that. Lenovo, if you buy a custom laptop, just so you know, they're not assembled in the US, at least last I checked. They're assembled in China and then shipped over. I think HP was the same way for a while, too, if I'm not mistaken. They may have changed it. That was when I had my HP Omen 15T laptop, 2015 or 2016. Yeah. But on to other notes. I've been loving my little Tangara player. Thought Lenovo was coming out of Korea. No, Lenovo's Chinese. Lenovo's the Chinese company that bought IBM stuff. Makes sense, allowed them to avoid import tariffs for the global market. Now, hard kernel, they are in Korea. But yeah, I've been loving the Tangara. So the one thing I'm going to be doing on this later on, I don't know if we'll do it tonight. I am going to be making my playlists using Rhythmbox. Rhythmbox is my favorite music player on Linux. It's just got this like iTunesy like feel I like. I can show you it. I'm putting all my music in different things here. So yeah, you can get your playlists and everything set up. So I can like save to a file. And if I do an M3U, they can apparently work on my player. VLC is a video player. It's not that great as a music player. As a dedicated music player, this is a little bit better. And you got Libre.fm. You've got radio over here. So, like, look, I can, like, pull up a few different radio stations over here. I can add some streams. So, I like Rhythmbox a little bit more. It reminds me of Winamp. Winamp! We're really kicking the llama's ass. No, whipping the llama's ass. Sorry. Excuse me. I burped. But yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with this whole country and where we're going and everything. I just use FFmpeg on the CLI to play my music. But why? We have the technology. Winamp V2 forever. If I could get Winamp to work on Linux, there's probably a version out there, some way to do it. I would totally do it. Winamp. Winamp was awesome. Yeah, but running it through Wine just seems like too many extra steps. Winamp on Linux. I know they open sourced it. Winamp 3 for Linux. Somebody apparently made like a Winamp for Linux years ago. That's interesting. Oh yeah, and you heard like Winamp tried to like pull their software from GitHub. Winamp, yeah, Winamp deletes entire source code repo after a rocky few weeks. And someone managed to still grab the Winamp repository. That kind of bit them in the ass, I guess. Now, what license was it under? The Winamp Collaborative License version 1.0. But yeah, Winamp, totally one of the best music players I ever had. And you know what? I'm going to also say it. Windows Media Player was actually pretty good. Especially with those visual effects. Come on. We were all doing it in high school and middle school. Getting stoned, listening to Linkin Park and shit, with the animations being all trippy. Don't deny it, you were doing it. Windows Media Player for DVD. Windows Media Player was actually pretty good. I do remember that. It was but this is also like back in the days of like Windows XP. Windows XP was actually a really great operating system after Service Pack 2. I'm actually looking at getting a DVD player for this machine so I can start ripping DVDs. We still use XP for stuff at work. Good fucking God, man! I still insisted on WMS and Win 10, even when it got buried in the OS. WMS. Windows Media Server? Did I get that right, or am I thinking of something else? Hell, I found my Apple Airport the other day. I gotta find where I put it. I wanted to show you it. You used to be able to, have like an iTunes server on it, and then plug your headphones in. It was like the weirdest thing. Like, let me show you this. Apple Airport. The Airport Express. So hold up. Let me show you. The Apple Airport Express. I used to have this as a wireless router in my home. You used to plug that into the wall, plug in your Ethernet. That would make Wi-Fi. Then you could actually plug your media in and have like an audio server over here. It was such an interesting concept. I have one I found the other day. I was going to try plugging it in and see if it actually worked. And apparently it sounded pretty damn good. Like, look how flat that curve is. It was a pretty decent device for the money. But yeah. 2005. Holy shit, man. I'm old. One of my science buddies has to daily drive Windows 95 because of abandonware that's required to do certain things. Yeah. Some of the sciencey things do that. But you seriously like have to do 95 still? Does he like do it in a virtual machine? Did you go to school for tech, or was just like you always good at it? I've done all my tinkering and stuff on my own, and met some really cool people along the way that have, mentored me and got me the right way onto different things. Close friend of the family. I was like 9, 10 years old. Hey, I'm going to teach you about this thing called Linux. Here's Canopix. And we're going to go war driving and try cracking some wireless networks. That's just how I grew up. Hackers teaching hackers. Nah, old box PC sitting in the corner of the research room. Oh, good God, that thing is going to die, and you're not going to be able to replace the hardware on it. I've run into those kind of situations. Not fun. Definitely not fun. Who's Santa? Is Xana Cesar in here? They're in my Discord. Just curious because they were asking about Brian Lunduke. See you later, Chris. Have a good night. Securing air gapped. We got a few Win 7 machines, and I retired an NT 4.0 machine. God damn! Attached to some pricey mass spec, but it was air gapped. I was talking with my architect the other day about Next Step Computer, and he was just talking to me before I came here about his time with OS 9 and everything. We were geeking out. I'm one of the few people that can, like, talk Unixy stuff with him. But, yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy what things are happening. Can you run CAD on Linux? Yeah. There's free CAD. Granted, it's very, very scientific and everything like that. It's definitely not, like, as easy of an experience like AutoCAD Fusion 360 and stuff, but you can do CAD. You can do it. I know you can do slicing easily with, like, Prusa Slicer and stuff like that on Linux. I've been doing that. But yeah. I'm thinking of offloading my Docker cringe to a laptop. I mean, it's having a Pentium P6 and 6GB of RAM. That should be fine. Run a Linux box on it. You should be able to do quite a bit with it. Do a little Portainer. Do a little dance. Get a little love. And get down tonight. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell y'all. I got myself a new TV for free. I just gotta buy the TV stand. Coworker of mine replaced his 65-inch TV. He said, like, so far the edges of the screen just got a little bit dimmer, was all. He's like, so if anyone wants a free TV, and I'm like, I'll take it. My TV's just having major flickering going on every now and then, so I'm like, that's an upgrade. Okay. Taromi, were you the one talking about Lunduke on, Discord? Typically use Portainer BE. Pentium MMX does not feel radio. Okay, Lunduke. Brian Lunduke. Let me start off by saying this way, and then I will get to filling you in on things. Brian Lunduke was definitely a huge inspiration for me to get into Linuxy kind of things in the way that I do. He used to be a really cool guy that would nerd about open source and all that. I learned about lulzbot from him. I learned about purism from him. I learned about System 76 from him. I learned to, get deeper into a lot of these projects. I loved his, stories of when he worked at Microsoft and everything like that. He used to be really awesome. Then at some point in time, he just became sensationalist and really leaning towards the right in ways that were very uncomfortable. And then just started to bandwagon on the culture war of Linux. Kind of going in the Trumpy sort of way. I haven't watched a lot of his stuff recently, but he really went down a rabbit hole. I will always respect Lunduke for the things he taught me and brought me to. But I can't respect the rabbit hole Lunduke is getting into now. Let me explain. So if you go into his... And here's the thing. I remember I called him out a few years ago because he was behind, now he was the guy originally that became famous for the Linux Sucks, he used to do the Linux Sucks, videos. They were great. It was like, ways of talking about how Linux is great, but like calling out the right things. And every year he had the Linux Sucks presentation that was really great. That's how I originally came across him. And he was a journalist over at Linux Journal. Like, he has a lot of great accolades. But I feel like he just realized he could make a lot more money by diving into the sensationalism of different things and getting into the politics of different things and the outrage culture, especially on the right, than how we used to be. And it's sad because I used to look up to the dude, and he's in part why I got into wanting to create content on cybersecurity and Linux and all of that stuff. It's really disappointing. It is. It is. The community lost a pillar, and he would be a guy I would have always recommended people to go watch. Unfortunately, you're the first person in the Discord to have mentioned him, and it's like, I probably see why you're mentioning him and why he's next to my videos. Because he's another Linux guy, but he went into the sensationalism politics sort of thing of it. And not in the way, like, Level 1 techs, they take level-headed approaches to things. They may once in a while have their little funny, cringe, little humor jokes and things like that, but they're taking the piss out of you. Whereas Lunduke went into this whole, like, red pill kind of, in the negative way, not the Morpheus kind of way, situation. And I remember a few years ago, I called out Brian Lunduke as well, because while he's a big open sourcey guy, he took all of his YouTube videos off for a while and put them on library. And I called him out for that, and I said, you just removed a lot of good resources for the community because you went too puritanical on open source. And that's why I tell people all the time when they're like, why don't you like make your stuff only on PeerTube and Mastodon and everything? And I say, because the reality is my content is there not just for the people that are already in the scene, but the people that are coming into the scene. And I need to go to where they are, which is why I'm on YouTube, why I'm on Twitch, why I'm on Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Discord, and Matrix, and these different worlds and everything like that. I still hem and haw over whether I'm going to do it on Instagram again. That's a whole other issue. But when you're looking at content like this, what do you make of Mental Outlaw? I'm not familiar with him, Nikolai. There's a lot of different people in this space. I may have watched this stuff, but like, look at this. Open source is anti-free speech. Is Arch Linux woke? Looks like it. Arch Linux Discord, I think we should kill Lunduke. It's like he's taking these sensationalist things. Linux Foundation makes statement about banning Russian programmers 3 months late. Okay, there's like maybe a couple things, but then, employees speak out, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Intel discriminate against white men. And this is what irks me. Brian? 1 second here. Mishpucha. We're both Jews that are white passing. We're not white. Because here's the reality. They will tokenize us. But the second we step out of line, guess what they will view us as? Just another effing Jew. And they will never let you forget it. That's what irks me about it. Logan of the 10 Sex Syndicate going crazy. Yeah! There you go. I used to watch Tech Syndicate all the time. And then remember Wendell left? I followed Wendell. when Wendell left Logan, I forgot the whole, like, scene that happened there. But Wendell used to work with Tech Syndicate, in Logan, and then there was this huge falling out, and Logan has just never really recovered. But, like, look at this, you know, like, this was the content I used to go, like, Open Mandriva. He used to actually just review tech. You know, like, what is this? Minimalism and hate speech. You know, like, this is all sensationalist. And you know what blows my mind? He doesn't get as many views as he used to on a lot of his content. You know, Open Mandriva, the non-woke Linux distro? Like, the code of conduct must die, the Linux code of conduct. You're just talking, somebody mentioned Brian Lunduke, who's another Linux creator that originally influenced me back when they were really cool. And I don't know if he has his original stuff, because some of his original content was really great. But, I also noticed he doesn't really pal around with his buddy, I think it was Matt, if I remember a while ago. There used to be some really great videos if you go back a few years ago. Like, he got a little bit... I'm trying to see, hold on. Like, look at this. NixOS purge of Nazi contributors forces abdication of founder, and, you know, like, things of that. Like... He used to have some really, really great content if we go back a little bit further. Like, way further. Nope, he deleted all the great content he had. It doesn't go back further than 1 year. He doesn't have his Linux Sucks videos. He doesn't have any of the content that actually used to be what drove me to him. He deleted his content a few years ago, apparently. All his Linux Sucks content. All of the, yeah, like, and like, let me compare the two of us for a second, okay? Do you know when the only time I have ever used the term woke in my content? Hold up. Because remember, I'm kind of ignorant to some of these things. Yitz had to explain to me what woke meant and everything. And he's black gay Jew, okay? Hold up. Where was the video? Trying to remember. It was the one on Godot. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Look, this is it. Godot versus Redo when people don't want politics. And what does it literally say? P.S. WTF is woke. I literally had to learn what woke meant because of that video, and I looked up the actual definition, not the politicized version. Here's the thing. He does have ideas. He does have a brain. The guy is actually brilliant in terms of software. The problem is he went deep into the rabbit hole realizing that you can sensationalize politics around anything and tried to sensationalize the politics around open source software and everything. Once you start saying open source is anti-free speech, you've gone too far. Open source is totally free speech. Y'all can make your own Mastodon server. Say whatever the hell you want. But I don't fucking have to associate with you. I have the freedom to do that. I have my own Mastodon server. If I don't like what you say on your Mastodon server, guess what? I will block you. If I don't like what, you know, your Mastodon server is standing for and it's actually toxic and everything, I will defederate from you. And you, if you don't like what I say, if you don't like what my server does or anything, you can do the same. And guess what? That's freedom. It's really sad because he actually did have a great history and everything. So like Brian Lunduke, he does have a history. He worked at Microsoft. Like, he doesn't even have his videos on, what do you call it? Hold on. Did he switch? Nope, the Lunduk Journal. So, hold on. Is there a Wikipedia of him? Nah, he doesn't really have a Wikipedia. That's interesting. All right. Anyway, or maybe I just don't want to spend too much time diving into his Wikipedia. But anyway, he did work at Microsoft. He talks about how he had to do testing on different operating systems for Windows Media Player and stuff like that. How he used to like have amazing stories I used to watch, like when he got yelled at by Bill Gates, and when he literally was there watching as a Linux guy, Steve Ballmer talk about Linux being cancer. He was in the crowd when that happened, and remembering Steve Ballmer was like yelling and screaming, and his spittle was like flying through the room, and Lunduk's mouth was like open so far that he remembers like he actually got Steve Ballmer spit in his mouth because his jaw was so wide open from what he was seeing and everything like that. Yeah, developers. It was wonderful seeing those kind of stories. He's purged all of that information. He's purged all of his original views that I used to watch that made me actually agree with him, because he used to be an even-keeled kind of like, he used to be kind of like how I am, when it's like, we can agree, we can disagree, I'm a Jewish guy doing tech, some people are going to hate me, like that kind of thing. I don't understand how he went to that. And I'm going to give you all a promise. I have tried when I saw him going down that route, I made a promise to myself saying, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. Which is very upsetting, because he was the very inspiration and, in a way, mentor to me doing the things that I'm doing now. In terms of the Linux, the diving in, like, he was the one that, like, originally showed off Cubes OS and, System 76 and Purism and Prusa and Lulzbot, like, showing me the deepness of open source and, when I was picking all this up, like, years and years ago. So it's really, really, really upsetting to have seen such a great pillar of the community who inspired thousands of people. Yeah, it's really sad to see your heroes fall. And it upsets me, because he used to be this, like, loving dude that used to, like, be chill with everybody, and then, like, suddenly turned into an old man. Everything's woke. Everything's that. I'm like, shut the fuck up and get right into the tech of stuff, because you don't realize how much you're being tokenized yourself on all these rants and everything. Like the whole 5G, what does it say? Like the whole 5G causes medical issues and plugs shit into their bed to remedy that. Oh my God, yeah! I mean, he's not that far gone, but like, when you start seeing cultural zeitgeist and culture and all that, you think DEI is the next buzzword to take over work? Abso-fucking-lutely! They're using it all over the place. And most of these motherfuckers that talk about DEI don't even know what the hell it means. Here's the reality. Veterans. Hiring veterans. They're considered a DEI hire. You ever wonder why there's that fucking veteran checkbox there? Because we're trying to give them equal opportunities so that they aren't overexposed or anything like that. I mean, overlooked. Sorry, not overexposed, overlooked. White women. White women extremely benefit from DEI. Because here's a newsflash for a lot of women. Not too long ago, you weren't allowed to, get married without, a purpose, or even at all, or own your fucking own property, or have a bank account, or about 100 years ago, even vote. Greg Abbott, there you go. Another DEI hire. He's in a fucking wheelchair. And he's actively fighting against the representation that disabled people have. And here's the fucking thing people need to understand. DEI does not mean unqualified people get hired just because of their background. All it means is that we give opportunities to often overlooked communities to be able to be given an opportunity. I'm considered a DEI hire. I am on the spectrum. I am bi. I'm Jewish. First-gen American. I'm Arab, basically, according to my family. Technically African American because of Morocco. I'm a DEI hire. But I have 10 years of cybersecurity experience. I've got a CISSP certification. I have a lot of Linux knowledge. Yes, there's people that know more than me. I think y'all can agree. I wasn't hired because of, what I am, but what I know and what I can bring to the table. There are definitely companies that are using DEI in the wrong way. No doubt about that. But let's put this into perspective here. In terms of DEI, if you have someone that, let's say you have a company that's 80% women. What you do in a DEI situation is you try to find more men. You want to have equal representation for everyone. DEI hires are usually even more qualified and badass. Yes, because we have to fucking work our ass off to be seen. The reality is why they don't like DEI? Because basic ass, average white men that don't work too hard on their skills can just be handed a job because of their background. They're afraid of educated black people. They're afraid of educated, minorities and all of this. They're afraid of actually having to compete against other groups that may be marginalized, and by virtue of them being marginalized, have to work their fucking ass off. But why make DEI the front of business for? Why is there sudden interest? There's always been interest in it. Republicans have just sensationalized it. Trans people have always existed. Why do they suddenly make it an issue that people are trans? Why are they arresting Native Americans? Costco publicly announcing the enforcement of DEI is why it's not on the chopping block of boycotts up here right now. I want to make this very known right now, and I'm sure some of y'all can go through some of my past Twitch VODs. If Just Dev is here, he's one of my mods. If he's not, you can tag him in my Discord. He will tell you, I have been singing the praises of Costco for many months. I have been a Costco member since 2019. I've always loved Costco. They're way better than Sam's Club. Way better than Walmart. Don't want to cause drama, but U.S. stays on stolen land. Yeah, basically, but here's the reality. It's happened so many generations after. We still have to find a way to rectify things with natives, but we can't really just return things to the way they were. Well, last stream featured Costco. Did it? I think so. By the way, Costco, please start carrying Portuguese wine. I don't want to buy from Whole Foods anymore. It's the only reason I still go there. Whole Foods is really the only reason I go to Costco. Portuguese wine is the only reason I really go to Costco still. It's the only place that has Portuguese wine, at least of a decent selection, where there's at least more than one brand. Nearest store in France here. Yeah, but I love Costco. It's really great. I feel rejected because of my intelligence. Don't be too smart. People don't like it. Oh, absolutely. That's the problem as well. Gotta act like a basic bitch around the white people, apparently. And that's honestly one thing I love about where I work. My boss is Middle Eastern, and so am I. We get along on a totally different level than other people understand. It was kind of interesting where one of my coworkers is white, and he thought that my boss was, like, passive-aggressive, and, just, he didn't know how to deal with them. I'm like, you really don't understand our culture. It's like, no, it's just, he's saying things with a different inflection in his voice and stuff. It's like, I understand it because most of my family had English as a second language. So there's like certain characteristics you pick up from your primary language you put in English that don't necessarily translate if you're a native speaker. Why is Costco in a fight with the union? Doesn't Costco pay and take care of their employees? Yeah, I don't know what the specifics are, but last time Costco dealt with the union, they gave them everything and then apologized for feeling like they needed to unionize. Yeah, unions are always fighting. We deal with them with some of our people at work. We're not unionized in my part, but there's other parts of the company that are unionized. They're always starting shit. And it was an interesting thing because apparently the union was fighting with things, and the contract the unions had with the company wasn't even up for like 3 or 4 more years. So it was like they were starting shit for nothing. REI, you mean the retailer? I mean the realtor? Okay, Costco strike averted after last-minute agreement reached with Teamsters Union. Oh, Teamsters. There you go. If you don't know the history of Teamsters, Teamsters was actually associated with the mafia. That is not even a joke. Came to a tentative 3-year contract agreement at the 11th hour, averting a strike that would have affected operations at more than 50 Costco stores starting today. So it's not all of them. It's only 8% of their union, of their, 8% of their total stores. Operations at 56 stores in Maryland, New Jersey, New York, California, and Washington would have been impacted. Regardless of the strike, it is prepared to keep all locations open through business, blah, blah, blah. Contract remains to be ratified by Costco union members before it goes into effect. Costco and Teamsters couldn't come to an agreement with the union asking for improved seniority pay, paid family leave, bereavement policies, sick time, and safeguards against surveillance. Apparently, those issues have been resolved to both parties' satisfaction. Just before the scheduled strike, Costco announced that all hourly non-union employees would get a pay raise and improved benefits. Costco announced that all hourly non-union employees would get a pay raise. So it wasn't just union ones that got it. Those at the top of Costco's pay scale would receive $1 per hour raise to $30.20 per hour, and a $1 per hour raise for each of the following 2 years. Those at the lower end of the pay scale would see a 50-cent per hour raise, taking starting pay to $20 per hour, well above the roughly $16 per hour median pay for retail workers. So, no matter which way you slice it, Costco is fucking paying people. Their lowest end pay is $20 an hour now. Their highest end is $30.20. How much do I get paid per hour? 1 second. Pay per hour calculator. Hold on. Salary to hourly calculator. I make $48 an hour. Just to put that in perspective. Their top-end employees, like 2/3 of the way pay to a cybersecurity professional. That's some pretty good pay. Even then, like, your starting pay is, like, a little less than half of what I get paid. That's damn good money. Imagine if Canada stopped the electricity. At most, it would cause brownouts. We can't directly turn off the grid. Y'all would just redirect the grid to adjust. Yeah, pretty much, but it'd be more. They have high employee retention. Yes, they do. So does my employer. I think my employer is like averaging about 10% turnover per year. They do pretty good. They, I think we get like, what is it, like a 60% match on our 401k with no cap. Yeah. Texas laughs, cries, and ERCOT. The whole Texas grid situation was horrible because y'all did not winterize and weatherize a lot of your stuff. And, yeah. My last job had 70% turnover every 6 months. Jesus. We could not function. But do you know how nice it's been that in my entire 2 years of my career at this place, I'm thinking, I've only seen 2 full-time employees leave. In a department of roughly 40 people, only 2 have left. More people have been added onto the department than have left. The company I work for believes highly in keeping the employees they have because of the company-specific knowledge we have and encouraging our growth and everything. One of my friends left without a job lined up. Oh my fucking God, how much did your job suck to do that? I would have at least just, coasted by, just doing barely enough to keep my job if I hated it. But the current job I'm at, I've actually gotten like 3 unsolicited offers for jobs, and I've turned them down because I'm like, nope, I'm happy with where I'm at. I like my boss. I like my team. I get decent pay. Could I technically get paid more working somewhere else? Yes. But the benefits, they're so great. I have only a $1,500 deductible on my insurance. They cover so much shit. Paid holidays. I even get days off if I want to go volunteer. That's actually in my paid time off. I can actually take days off if I want to go volunteer. So I was actually looking at volunteering at some mutual aid things around here. Hell, to be similar. I was warned about the company 1,000 miles away. Ooh. Oh, that's right. You were telling me. You had a neighbor tell you about that was 1,000 miles away that warned you about it? Yeah. Whereas the place I work at, yeah. The place I work at, people love working at. It's a company most people have never heard of. Unless you're local. But once you do, it's a great company. I'm happy. They might be sending me to DEF CON this year. They didn't last year, they did the year before. Yeah. Someone punched a hole in the wall playing ping. Wait, the fuck? To keep your employee happy, your wallet happy. Yeah. When you read stories about Canadian employers abusing LMIA, what's LMIA? Workers by entrapping them with contract and lower than livable wage. It was one of those companies. So they banned ping pong until 2 p.m. Wait, what? Hey, what? I'm confused. Oi. Someone hit the wall and made a dent. So y'all have a ping pong table at work? We don't do that. Although work has taken us out to fun events like, they've taken us to axe throwing. Many times they've taken us to Top Golf. LMIA equals closed permit foreman workers. Closed permit can't work for another company for the duration of the contract. Oh, okay. It's a visa thing, right? We have a similar thing here in the U.S., but, yeah. Interesting. But someone else fell into the wall and it got bigger. How do you fall into a wall? What the hell? My brain is broken. Broken. Intense ping pong before 2 p.m. Intense ping pong. I just refuse to understand the idea of ping pong being so intense that it's ripping holes in dimensions. That thing ripping holes bigger than Baba does in prison. I don't know, man. I barely even work there. No, I totally get that. Everything else is broken anyways. Make ping pong out of flash paper. Make hole into ring of fire. You know, that's what I call my butt when I eat Taco Bell. It's the ring of fire. Oh, but yeah. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. But anyway, it's getting a little late, guys. I need to get to sleep and start winding down. It's been lovely hanging out with all of you. I will be back Sunday. And don't forget, we have movie night Saturday night at 9. I didn't make the announcement. I'll put that up tomorrow. We're probably going to be watching Inglourious Bastards over in the Discord. So if you haven't joined already, make sure to join the Discord. Make sure to join the all of my socials and everything. I'm on Mastodon. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Matrix. I have a Matrix server. We have a Discord server. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. Follow them all. We don't know if TikTok is going to be banned, but I am on TikTok. We shall see within the next 60 days. If you are on Twitch, stick around for the raid. I love y'all. I'll see you around. Happy hacking, and stay safe out there. Sunday, we'll be back.